and we're live on the internet.
What? We're live?
Is it the state of PC gaming?
PC gaming report. Whatever. However, Brad.
It's like
E3,
Brad, right? Like this would be the E3 report, except for there's no E3 anymore.
Do people know what Summer Game Fest is though? Like our SGF?
I don't.
Key 3?
I actually don't.
But yeah. It's not the same as E3, right? Like I don't think it could ever be
gravitas.
Yeah.
I don't think Sacramento, like CBS News, is sending an affiliate down to LA to get all the hottest gaming news.
Wow,
like they used to.
Putting
E3.
Sacramento on blast. There.
Well, look,
how rude.
That was always the example. The video game people always were like, well, the reason E3 is important is that we got to have
the
a
Washington
place
Post is there.
that the local news can come out and find out about games to report on them in the mainstream media. I don't think that happens anymore.
We can roll 10 seconds of Mario Galaxy if you roll on CNBC.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you mean Channel 7 News with the news van outside?
Yeah.
Wait. So No, we can get into it. We can get into it during that discussion. I guess that is a good question. Like who was actually there? But yeah, we're live. I see our faces. Yeah. We're in focus, and we can hear ourselves, and we're here. Yeah,
I'm as focused as I get.
Gordon, show off your shirt. I didn't get a good look at it.
That is a good shirt, Gordon.
Is that the official?
It was $5.
That's even better. How long do you think before? How many washes before the design washes off?
Well, I'm more worried about because I just pulled it out of the plastic packaging and it hasn't. It has one of those it was just shipped here from China smell.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy, did they? I'm just hoping it's not covered with some kind of because most people wash it before they use it, but it was in the package, so yeah. I'm hoping I'm not going to get some kind of horrible acid burn from it. So
if we
start $5,
if we start seeing smoke coming off your body, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks good. It's a good orange. You also could wear that hunting, so you have that going for you too. You go walking in the woods, you're safe.
And then somebody in the chat says, "What's Gordon's backdrop?" See, I was confused too. They're
not Star Wars fans, clearly.
Did you?
I'm not even gonna tell people. Let's figure it out.
Other people in the chat
hanging out somewhere. Where's Wait a minute. Where are we supposed to be watching this?
The Full Nerd Podcast on YouTube.
At the Full Nerd?
No, the Full Nerd Podcast.
Oh.
YouTube.com/the Full Nerd Podcast.
It's a podcast for nerds.
Yeah.
Full
nerd.
Wait, isn't there an @ sign in there?
I mean, you can, but it'll go there without the @ sign as well. I figured out later.
Really?
Also, we traded Brad's. What is this? Is this what Brad looks like when he shaves his beard? We're just going to say that joke every single time.
Yes.
Brad, we've tried to get him over the years to agree to shaving his beard. Not that Brad, but our Brad. And he's like, no, over my dead body.
Yeah,
you need stakes. You need to establish some kind of wager or something.
No, I think we even got to the point of hey, if we hit 1 million subs by the end of the year, would you shave your beard? And he's like, nah, not even for that.
Really?
Look, he's a beard guy, right?
He is a beard guy.
You can't.
What is he hiding?
I mean, maybe he has an enormous chin. Maybe he has a tiny chin. Who knows? It's impossible to say.
Yeah.
I don't remember what my chin looks like.
I've never seen what his chin looks like.
Yeah.
But he does have a sword collection, so I'd like to think he has a small dagger. Yeah, remember he fought off the home invader with his sword.
That doesn't mean he has a sword collection. That just means
he's got multiple swords.
A sword.
He has multiple swords, and one of them.
What kind of swords are we talking about? Like Revolutionary War sabers?
You're gonna have to ask him.
I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, I think the one that he used to fend off the attackers was a scimitar. Is that how you say it?
Okay.
Yeah. Did I say it right?
Like Prince of Persia style?
A true pirate kind of sword.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not a sword guy, so I'm not hiding any swords in my beard.
There's pictures of what de-bearded me on the internet, Ivan.
I know. I mean, that's how I remember you.
Really?
Yeah.
The Smurmy picture from the front of the magazine back in the day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those photo shoots, have you ever done with it? Gordon, you had to do those.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where you would go in and the photographers, Mark and Sam, would sit there. They'd get you all set up in this stool that was too high, so you had to kind of lean forward and be uncomfortable in a really cold room with really bright lights. And then they'd tell you things like, smile, but chomp down on your back teeth and push your chin forward.
Oh, yeah.
I think they just did that to see, because anytime
like
somebody
Simon says.
Yeah.
Anytime a photographer tells you to do stuff, you do it. So they just and now stand on one leg and then balance on your left toe.
Believe me, it's going to make the photo look better. Yeah.
Look, we did weird photo, like they never did serious photo shoots like we did. Like when I did I spent a year using Linux once, and for that,
I'm sorry.
For that, this was in the old days when it was not a viable option. And
man, now we're gonna get hate comments.
Debian. It was Debian. It was one of the first 26 because it was not a double name one.
Okay.
And for the end of that, we rented a penguin suit and bought a bunch of raw fish, and I dressed up in the penguin suit and got my picture taken for not the first time, actually, I guess. So, yeah.
What did you do with the raw fish?
They held it above me as if penguins eat raw fish, so it was like a problem.
I mean, afterwards. What happened to them afterwards?
I don't know what happened. I think somebody took them home and cooked them, but I'm not sure.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Brett, if you can turn down your gain a little bit more, please. Sorry.
More?
Yeah.
This is like the Adam's opportunity to be a photographer. He's like, turn it down a little bit, now turn it up a little bit, now turn it down.
Now,
I think this was this happening with other Brad last time I was here, I think.
No, I think it's you're using it on the web version. Why do you not have local Zoom? What do you got against Zoom?
I don't have a lot of opportunities to Zoom, honestly.
Right, well, yeah. Next time I have you on, we'll switch to Discord.
I do have it on. I have it on my laptop. I probably don't want to bother at this point.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
I'm guessing.
Gordon, hello, hi.
Yeah, I'm right here.
If you can give me just a smidge more gain on your end, trying to adjust things here, and then we'll get started. By the way, we have a couple firsts here. I'm going to save this for the intro.
I'm maxed out.
Okay.
One more?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Oh.
You're good. Ivan, friend of the show, Ivan says, how about Gordon wears a fake Santa's beard when the new channel hits 10,000 subs?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Do you have
I'll
one?
turn off the low, faint background noise. I didn't realize it was set to auto for background, so the noise suppression's off. I'll turn that off. Yeah?
All right. Yeah, we got this. We got it. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. What are we talking about today, Gordon, on this new channel of ours?
Well, we are talking about Snapdragon X because it just continues to roll out. It's just like the longest launch I think I've probably ever seen. So the actual review day isn't even technically today. As I understand it, they basically, after all the recall stuff blew up in their face, they said you can just run the review when you want to. But today, there are 5 people, 2 YouTubers, 3 websites, although almost 50% of them Canadian, that have actually been able to review ASUS's new VivoBook 15 with the Snapdragon X in it. So we're going to be talking about it because it is something that people want to continue to talk about, and I'm actually excited about it because you want to know if this is really going to be, the end of the Rebel Alliance. We've already seen the end of Kenobi, and is this really going to be the end of the Rebel Alliance? Is that what he said? I can't remember, but so
we've seen the end of Kenobi, and now we'll see the end of that sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds right. I think Moff Tarkin then gave him a funny look. It's like, wait, what? Aren't you kind of like getting a little ahead of yourself here? So I remember, I swear to God, he was like, wait, let's not count our chickens yet, right?
Oh, Tarkin? No, Tarkin was the one. They don't have
Star
chickens
Wars already?
in Star Wars. But Tarkin was the one who was like, this is no threat to us.
They do have chickens. They're just called like cluckers or something.
Wow. I don't want to be cluckers.
Wow.
But yeah, no,
That's
Tarkin,
Star Wars universe. They really work hard, don't they?
Tarkin was like evacuating our moment of triumph, and that's what killed him. If he'd taken the evacuation shuttle, we would have had Tarkin in the sequels.
Yeah, but that's later.
Yeah.
That's later. So, but I swear to God, when Vader says that, he kind of gives him a look. So I don't know, but all right. But yeah, so obviously Snapdragon X reviews actually by these are production laptops outside the control of Qualcomm. So we're going to go over some of the results that they're seeing and talk about that. Kind of the things that are like kind of make you go. And also, Brad is going to give us an update on the state of PC gaming after coming back from LA. Right? It's not E3. Is it E4?
Not E3.
Did they change it?
No, E4 was a different thing.
They call it Key
That's
3.
right.
It turns out.
Do they?
Yes.
No, nobody calls it.
No,
that.
they don't.
SGF, right? Isn't that
Summer Game Fest?
Yeah. We'll talk about that. Cool. Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be a good time. I dig it.
I can dig it.
Cool.
Are you, Gordon? You ready for the intro?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so it'll auto-play when you hit cut, and then, yeah. All right. Yeah, well, not yet. No, yeah. No, you can uncut it. It's fine. There we go.
That's what it sounds like, folks.
Yeah, there we go.
Wait, we can hear the sound today? Everybody hears it?
No, you can.
I actually heard it.
Oh, you heard it this time.
Yeah, I heard it today. So
Brad, did you hear
Alex fixed something.
I absolutely did.
Oh, wow, okay.
Somebody competent.
Oh, no, we updated
horizontals.
Zoom, that's why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. That's why.
I don't know. Who knows?
Zoom is like taking all kinds of tips from Teams because the UI is just like, it's like a board game where they just mix everything up once in a while, like a boggle, kind of like.
Teams.
It's horrible.
All right, yeah. So Gordon will do his intro, and then you come in with the music. Yeah. All right.
I know somebody got fired from iTunes, and then they got to work on Outlook, and then they got fired from Outlook, and then they ended up on Teams.
Then they went to Siberia.
I'm making that up, but it really is that bad. So that's.
Well, anyway, yeah.
If there's anybody listening, yeah, we just shaded you. So.
Dang.
But
wow.
Could you imagine that?
Rip Teams.
I bet if you actually work on the Teams team, you go home and you tell people like, oh no, actually I work on iTunes. Oh, okay. I thought you worked, like
iTunes for Windows. iTunes for Windows. Yeah. You gotta say.
Yeah.
All right. You ready, Gordon?
Yeah.
Intro, then music.
No ad?
No ad.
Got it.
Let's do it.
In this episode of the Full Nerd, Snapdragon X reviews are in, and the PC Gaming Report. Welcome to episode 305 of The Full Nerd. I'm your host, Gordon Mong, with Adam Patrick Murray.
Hello, I'm here. I will say this is a first. Actually, this is multiple firsts. Not only is this the first time we're streaming live on the Full Nerd Podcast YouTube channel.
Yeah.
This is also the first time Alex is running the verticals and horizontals.
Thanks for your patience, everybody.
Yeah, Alex Estevez.
That's right.
Yeah, but still. Yeah, I got to get that. So yeah,
I'm going to finish my introduction.
Yeah. Sorry, it's a lot of firsts. I'm excited to be here.
And next to Adam is Will Smith.
Ahoy, hoy.
And in the other box here is Brad Shoemaker.
Hi, hello. Thanks for having me.
And Alex Estevez, who has fixed our horrible Zoom issues, is controlling the vertical and horizontal.
Welcome, everybody.
Yeah, it's the first time controlling verticals and horizontals. He already fixed some things. He's doing great. He's doing a smashing job because Willis is still on vacation.
Wow.
Yeah, after Computex, look at that guy. Who approved his time off?
He's not coming back.
Oh,
The
don't
nerve
say
of
that.
some people.
Yeah, nerve of some people to have to do work.
I just want to say it's really exciting to be on a podcast with Brad.
I know, finally.
Oh, is this the first time?
Yeah, it's been a while.
First time, long time?
You remember we used to do those bombcasts like 6 years ago, and that was so fun. Why did we not ever do that again?
People liked it when we talked about technology. I don't know.
Yeah, you guys should think about doing something.
Maybe. It's a good idea.
Yeah,
if we can find the time.
Everyone's got a podcast, so maybe don't.
That's a good point. We've reached peak podcast, I think, at this point.
If you do, though, you got to have like some lame name, like maybe like Will and Brad make a technology podcast.
We should definitely just put a temp title in there until it turns into the real title.
Yeah.
What if we call it Sweatpants Tech Pod because we always record it wearing sweatpants? Think about it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Actually, here we go. Mark Heinz in the chat says Brad and Will made a full nerd podcast. There we go. There we go.
Everything's for sale.
Oh, wait. Is this a takeover? Are you going to edge me and Gordon out?
This is a hostile takeover of this mic.
Wow. Okay. That's horrible. That's rude.
Anyway.
Sorry, Gordon.
No. I mean, it'd be interesting. I mean, if there was a takeover podcast, so.
It's true. Takeover sounds like the thing that comes after Succession, right? Like the follow-up to Succession, like 10 years later when they take the people who are the children and make them the bad people and make a whole new show about them. Anyway, we're off the rails.
Kyle says we should bring Norm on.
It's true.
It'll be like a 3 podcasts in one.
Yeah, 3. Get Normie Kishore over here, and we just have too many people in the room.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Gordon, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about Snapdragon X. Actually, I was gonna talk more podcast crazy ideas.
Oh, sure.
I
don't want to.
How many ideas do you got?
I had this idea for the Maximum PC podcast, for the missing podcast that we never did. The whole idea was to get the original people to record it, but then pretend as though nothing had happened, because they'd been gone for years at that point. But just have them hosting it as though like they hadn't been gone for years. and then in the middle of it, you'd have one of those, time displacement Star Trek things, like, and then it would be a different crew, and then it would just go on and continue to shift different people. But obviously, that is way too high ambition, and like you can barely put on sweatpants, so it's just not going to work.
What missing podcast? Did we forget a number or something?
There was one we skipped intentionally, I think, after the ill-fated singing podcast. So we decided to skip it. I think it was like 3. I don't know what the number is. I don't even know where they are. I think you have to find them at like archive.com or something.
They're like a lot of as with all podcasts, once people stop paying the $20 a month to host them, they go to archive.org.
I still have them on an actual iPod somewhere.
Ooh.
That's where I have them, I think.
I'm sorry, did you guys sing? Is that what I heard?
We did a singing episode, Brad.
I don't know if I would call it singing, but it was called singing. Yeah, I did not sing because I understood what would happen.
Yeah, I didn't sing because I didn't want to subject anyone to that. But we made Nathan sing.
So there
Veronica Belmont sang.
Yeah, but she can sing.
She can sing.
So.
There are some video versions of the podcast on YouTube. You didn't do video the whole time, right?
No. It was at one point we just did it in some reason they gave us access to the podcast room.
You had a podcast room?
Yeah, look at this. This is a podcast room.
They actually had a podcast room for the gamer people.
Hey, there's Catherine.
You know how the company was, like it was like, oh, you can't use this stuff. It's our stuff. And then at some point they said, oh yeah, you could use our stuff. It's like, what? Okay.
We just used, when I was there, we just sat at our desks with gamer headsets on and recorded on. It was terrible. It sounded
There
really
was
bad.
a podcast room that whole time, I think. Wow. They just wouldn't let us use it. So, because.
Oh, wow. Look at Jared. He looks so young.
Yeah. And I do have an iPod because I had a gift card to Circuit City and they were going out of business. And I ran to the Circuit City because it was like $150 gift card. And like anything, give me this refrigerator door, right? But I ended up they had an iPod and it was actually, it was a great item to get. So.
Yes, new channel, and we are already off the rails.
Off the rails, we are.
Still the same old usual.
Look, the number's going up, though, so it's working.
I guess.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't even know where the numbers are anymore because apparently the person who got fired from iTunes and they got fired from Outlook.
iTunes for Windows.
And then got fired from Zoom also was working on the YouTube interface because I don't even know where the hell it is.
The new one, yeah. I opted out of that.
Here?
Yeah.
I don't know how to get rid of it.
You have to, in order to look at it, you have to minimize the chat to look at the title of the podcast or the title of the video and how many people are watching. Yeah, it's stupid. Yeah. I hate it. Yeah.
Yeah, but why would anybody even do that?
Why does anybody do anything, Gordon? That's the question.
Why?
Well, I just kind of think if you do such a F up, you would think somebody would come and yell at you. Yet I still have this horrible interface.
Gordon, are you familiar with the idea of a no fault postmortem? Like when somebody has a security break, remember when Facebook went down for 3 days a few years ago because somebody accidentally changed the DNS entry and none of their internal stuff would let them log in, so they couldn't even get into the data centers to reboot stuff.
Wow, I don't remember that.
So if you're Zuckerberg and you have that meeting with everybody, wouldn't you just? I'm going to use some harsh language here. Wouldn't you just yell the shit out of that person?
So here's the idea. The idea of the zero fault postmortem is that the fact that one person is able to beep up at such a level that it brings down all of Facebook and their supporting brands and everything else, the fault isn't that the person pressed the button. The fault is that the button exists in the first place.
A systemic failure.
Yeah. There's an underlying mistake that was caused by the system and the infrastructure. So it's not that person's fault that they turned off the DNS for the entire company and locked everybody out of their internal Facebook stuff and locked the doors to the data centers and the whole thing. It's the fault of the teams that let that whole thing get to that point.
Yeah, even though the button was taped over with tape that says "Do not push," right?
Look,
hey, by the way, never push that button.
We have a friend.
Yeah, never push this button. This one right here. Yeah, never push this button.
We have a friend whose partner who's a normal computer nerd like us. He's worked at a bunch of sites and worked with us off and on over the years. And his partner is a serious chemical engineer who works in oil refineries and stuff like that. And when they bought their house, he was the first thing I did was get one of those cool red stopper buttons for the light switch in my office. And the first thing she did when she came home was oh, you got to take that down because I can never be trained to hit that red button unless it's an emergency. And I have to be able to turn the lights off in your office. It's the same thing.
I've never heard of this no fault thing, because that is absolutely ridiculous, because somebody is clearly at fault. And I would think, if you basically fired that person, it probably wouldn't happen, because they tore off the tapes and said, don't push. But
then next time there's a mistake, they're just going to cover it up instead of fixing the systemic underlying problem.
Well, it's probably even got one of those big covers, like the big plastic cover with the key, and there's probably a second key that they have to turn over there.
Yeah, you can't do it within arm reach.
You have to do a toe.
It's like in Helldivers, when you got to hit the button at the same time.
Oh yeah. The friendship doors.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, people. Yeah, somebody's to blame. Somebody should be fired. But let me tell you who shouldn't be fired.
Who?
I don't know. That's not even a really good one.
Qualcomm.
So obviously we're talking about Snapdragon. You want to talk about Snapdragon? I want to talk about Snapdragon because it's finally here. Is it the reckoning that people have been talking? This train, I'm just so sick of it. I understand why people are so sick of it, because it's just been going on for months.
It is also very exciting, because this could signal a new future. Brad, I have a question for you real quick, because I don't know how much you've been following all this Snapdragon talk, but are you excited for this potential new ARM takeover of x86?
Excited, maybe strong word. Interested, intrigued, certainly. Obviously had a profound effect on the Mac world, and I'd like to see
Macworld's a different channel. We're PCWorld. Sorry.
The Mac universe is nobody called Mac universe, right?
There's Mac universe probably better. We can't talk about them here, Brad.
The Mac regime. I don't know. Yeah. Obviously, a lot of benefits to the technology, and I'm curious if they can replicate that in the Windows space. But Apple controls the whole stack, right? They can manage every aspect of that transition, and the PC world is so much. Sorry, the PC sphere.
PC lowercase.
No, that's okay. Yeah. PC space lowercase world.
Well, I was going to say the PC sphere is so much messier. Just so many more cooks in the kitchen. So yeah, I'm curious if they can ease that transition as well as Apple did.
Well, Gordon, now that we've seen initial reviews, what do you think? Do you think, hey, this is awesome. This is the launch everyone was expecting, that we should embrace Snapdragon with open arms?
Well, I would say, because there are, and I encourage you to go out and look, there are 5 reviews that I've been able to find. There's one at Tom's Guide. There's one at Windows Central. There's one at Mobile Syrup, who I've never heard of.
I've heard of it.
Really? It's definitely a Canadian site, obviously. And then Dave 2D ran his review, and Matthew Moniz. God, I might screw that name up. Is it Moniz or
Monitz, something like that?
Oh, yeah. Matthew Moniz ran his reviews. So we have 2 YouTube reviews. We have 3 website reviews. They are only of the Asus VivoBook 15, which is one of the, I don't know, maybe 10 or 11 Snapdragon X laptops that have been released or announced anyway. So it's only the Asus one. We haven't seen the other ones. I will tell you, ours is basically still sitting in a FedEx truck, so we're waiting for it to get our hands on it. Like probably most of the other reviewers, the laptops were not arriving until basically roughly today or yesterday, and somehow Asus was able to cleverly beat all of their competitors by getting these laptops into these people's hands. And I would say, if you look at the results, they're kind of across the board. I guess it's what you would get out of Metacritic. There's some that seem pretty happy with it, and there's some that are like, And I actually, looking at some of the numbers, I'm not really overly impressed by some aspects of it. So definitely, the performance looks pretty good, although most of the performance, if you're using, sort of synthetic fixed benchmarks like Geekbench, if you're using, Cinebench 2024, which is not synthetic because it's actually based on it's an actual real product. But a lot of the benchmarks are, 3D Mark, they're kind of synthetic and they look pretty awesome. And a lot of them are also mostly optimized for ARM. So actually the performance and all-out CPU performance looks pretty good. Probably for most people, it's going to be indistinguishable because, frankly, most people don't do crap with their laptops, right? So they probably wouldn't know whether you had an Intel, an AMD, or a Qualcomm CPU inside of their laptop, because all they're doing is running Chrome, which, by the way, has been compiled for ARM now.
Yeah, well, this is my first question, Gordon. Are they cheating by making sure all these benchmarks are native to ARM?
Well, I think in the run-up to this, there definitely was people were overly reliant on a lot of synthetic benchmarks, and I've long said that Geekbench is the official benchmark of Twitter arguments, and like people like, I mean, I like Geekbench. I run it myself, and I think for what it is, if you can understand its application, it has usefulness. But a lot of people sort of put a little too much faith in it, predicting where your performance is going to be. So yeah, I do think Qualcomm did lean a lot into a lot of the synthetic benchmarks. So again, 3D Mark, and so interestingly, Cinebench 2024. I didn't realize this, but it actually requires, I think, AVX2 to run on PC. Snapdragon X does not have AVX2, so they basically Maxon basically released a version of Cinebench 2024 that has AVX2. That basically has, I think, some native support for whatever ISA that the ARM Snapdragon has. So basically, they subbed out AVX2 to make it run on whatever Neon or whatever the hell it is that they have over there. It's not Neon. I can't remember what.
Oh, the translation layer, you mean?
No, not translation layer, but they don't have AVX2, but they have something that's sort of analogous to it, and they made a version that runs on it. So that's probably. I mean, is it realistic? Yeah, I guess, because if this actually ends up in the real Cinema 4D product, then yes, it is real, and I imagine they're going to do it because that's why they did it. But it's not the same as just simply running the x86 version. So the performance definitely the performance actually looks pretty decent, and again, we've seen a lot of they had people testing reference laptops. They had Signal 65 did a paid report to analyze it, and those results look pretty close to what we're seeing out of this VivoBook 15. The performance is actually very decent in native apps, and interestingly, the really big question people have is like the emulation performance, and I would say across the board for the most part, although there's a really really big asterisk here, across the board, the emulation performance looks very decent. I think I was seeing deltas of about 10 to 11%. So you can run the x86 version of the same application or benchmark, and then you can run that on Snapdragon. You can run that on a window on an x86 part, and it was about a 10 to 11% difference, I think. So actually,
that's
not
pretty
bad.
Good. Yeah,
it's actually really good, right? I mean, honestly, that's probably what we saw out of Rosetta. When the original Mac launched, right? It was like their translation was actually pretty decent, right? So that actually looks really good. So I would say that in that aspect, it looks like, oh, actually, this is real, right? This is because for me the big fear is that emulation is just gonna suck, and then you're just gonna be like, oh, this is terrible. But there are a lot of kind of like weird things that are kind of like in the emulation that definitely aren't quite there yet. So go ahead.
I was going to say the thing that surprised me though was that there's Windows applications that are hard coded, like both the Microsoft Store versions of the apps, and then there's like the Tom's Guide article listed a bunch of games, like I think Halo Master Chief Collection and Apex Legends and Halo Infinite, that were hard coded to throw up ARM64 CPUs not supported errors when you tried to launch them. So like that was I didn't know that was a thing that they had done, and it kind of impacts this because even if the emulation's good, if the app is going to check for the architecture of your CPU and say, hey, no, we're not going to allow this, it doesn't matter how good the emulation is, which seems like that's going to require the developers to go out and update their applications to support these new CPUs, presumably.
Yeah, no, I get you too. In fact, that really, like, even though if you actually look at like Cinebench 2024, or a lot of people are running 7-zip because you can download the ARM version of 7-zip, you can download the x86 version of 7-zip. Again, you're looking at about a 10% difference, and you would think, oh, this looks awesome, but there's all kinds of stuff that would just throw flags and wouldn't run. Like a lot of games would not run. They would, people definitely, they were breaking. The games would not launch. Some people were running, was it Matthew Moniz? Oh God, I'm so sorry, man. I'm sorry. You have to come on here and tell me how to pronounce it. I'm just gonna say Matthew because I can get that right. So Matthew was running Premiere, and actually it looked pretty good, and then it started to get slower and bogged down, and So
the more he put on the timeline, and all
the more he put on the timeline, and it just kind of like, oh, this actually kind of sucks. And he had a lot of games that broke, and also for this website, actually, I'd probably say the most negative, although the headline makes you think it's pretty good. For mobile syrup, early impressions of Qualcomm Snapdragon X Elite, good, not great, but I want to point out, like, so he downloaded, and I should give him his shout out, his name. So Jonathan Lamont. Although it's French, is it Le Mans? Le Mans? Because
Brad,
I don't want to get because Canada, they could like sue you for that up there. But so he actually ran Slack on there. He downloaded Slack from the Windows Store, and he said that he was getting these weird, really long hitches. So he would like go to the only app that did give me a bit of trouble was Slack, which had a weird input delay that would see the app take 1 or 2 seconds to show what I was typing or to send a message. The app was usable, but the delay became very irritating. Ooh. Yeah, I would say that sucks. And that was downloaded directly from the Windows Store, which you would assume is ARM, but, so either it's ARM native or if it's running emulated, that's kind of scary, right? Because, honestly, the last time I looked at a Snapdragon device, it was a tablet, and I put it up against a passively cooled, Intel Core part, and that Core part was a POS. It was just slowest. It was the slowest thing in the world, and the Snapdragon was way worse. That was like the original HCX part. I think it was like a Gen 1, and like it would just have these massively long. You would try to do something, and it was just like pause, and then it would do something. So that to me is like, oh, that's really not good.
So Slack on Windows is an Electron app, is my understanding.
I believe so.
Yeah, but apparently they have they finally released, and actually when I did it and I had the massive problems, it was with HipChat, which was also Electron.
Yeah.
But actually it had Electron, and it had stuff you swept up off the floor. Also, it just kind of like everything just poured into it. It was just HipChat, right?
So there's a dev page I'm reading on Electron's site right now that says, hey, you can compile for Windows on ARM now, but it, like, of course it's on a wiki, so it doesn't have a date, so I have no idea when this is from. But it seems like that is a thing that you could theoretically do. Maybe they just haven't built it yet, or maybe it's like, who knows, maybe it's I can't imagine that the Windows Store would have some sort of the Microsoft Store would have some sort of problem that would like deliver the wrong version of the application to the wrong platform. Who knows?
I would imagine that wouldn't, but again, maybe they have that thing. Was it that no fault thing? Is it that?
Look,
it's basically somebody's nephew you can't fire. Like, okay, you know what? You suck. We're firing you from the Teams team.
No fault.
Where am I going to go?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you'll just manage. What is something nobody cares about?
The Microsoft Store.
Nobody cares about ARM support on Microsoft. You can manage that, right? Okay.
Look, they're doing.
Well, how many ARM apps are there? Well, there's 3. That's all you got to do. Okay.
They're doing the no fault postmortem on Recall Plus right now, so we'll find out what happens with that in 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, but so I mean that was troubling. And again, there are definitely some games that were, and again, I really don't even think anybody should even focus on the gaming performance because, I mean, I really think of these as IGP devices at the moment.
Yeah,
and even I would never in the world recommend that anybody buy a Meteor Lake or integrated graphics for a primary gaming laptop. You should always do discrete graphics.
It's for like lightweight. Oh, hey, I'm in the middle of a meeting and maybe I don't want to pay attention, so I bring up a clicker or something.
I guess, but it just feels. Yeah, I mean, but it's just. I don't even know why anybody's talking about gaming for these devices. I don't really care about that. But there's definitely some kind of that troubling thing where like things are kind of like it looks good if you actually look at raw performance of looking at emulated performance where it's only a 10% hit, but then you have these weird things where things are hitching and things are really, really slowing down. That's not a good look, I think.
Well, let's ask the professional gamer here, Brad. How much do you care about gaming on Snapdragon?
I wouldn't touch it, frankly. Yeah. Like I'll say up front, I bought an M1 MacBook Pro pretty early in their transition to ARM, so I've got a fair amount of experience with like running x86 on ARM and all the bumps that go along with that sort of thing. And yeah, like I would not even dare, like, setting aside the integrated GPU drawbacks. Like, not only, you talk about with Prism, there's not only a performance penalty, the other thing is there's a battery penalty typically from what I've seen. Yeah. Like looking at Rosetta on the Mac side, not only are you going to, the performance impact might be negligible, but it is doing more work under the hood. So you're also going to hit your battery life like noticeably harder. when you're running non-native stuff like that. So like all those things added up together, like you said, with the kind of paltry nature of an integrated GPU in the first place, like it makes zero sense to me to want to play games on one of these right now.
Did you ever install Rosetta on your MacBook?
I never did, actually. I took a purist angle on the whole thing. Like I saw enough people, Reddit complaints are what they are. Like they're probably not that widespread, but there were enough of them, that I saw that I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to try to get by with native everything. And if something I use is not available for ARM, I'll just wait it out. Trying to think, it was like Parsec, Discord, like WhatsApp, some stuff like that, like took a good long while for ARM versions to come out on the Mac side, but they finally did. Like everything I use is now ARM native on Mac. So,
I mean, to be honest, the thing that I am interested in is, hey, could any of these potentially come to a handheld? Right? If the performance is at least good enough compared to the other handheld stuff, and maybe you could get better battery life or thermals or something in a handheld, then I'm curious about it there. But yeah, I mean, I still think it's early days.
Yeah, for sure. Like the example that Gordon gave with Cinebench earlier sounded really familiar to me, and like I feel like it's a really good illustration of how bumpy this transition might be. It's not enough to just take your code base and recompile for ARM. Talking about Cinebench, like these CPUs lack instructions that thing needs, so it just doesn't work, right? Like I think Neon that he mentioned is a set of extensions for ARM, and you see that on the Mac side. Like people are out there compiling custom builds of stuff like FFmpeg for ARM on Mac with the Neon stuff enabled, because it speeds up stuff like H.265 encoding dramatically. So it's like there's like a million little edge cases, where it's not just these CPUs have different instruction sets, they also have different capabilities. And so there's probably going to be like a bajillion little edge cases that you have to like code around or recompile for. That again, Apple is at least able to like take the holistic view of the whole thing top to bottom. But here, where it's like multiple CPU vendors, different company making the operating system, like it seems like a lot of potential for like a bunch of different variables that are going to make this like take forever.
Well, and we've talked about this here before, but the benefit Apple had is that they are able to say top to bottom, hey, we're not going to sell these other CPUs anymore. So developers, you better get on the stick and support the new architecture. And on Windows, it's just not like there's going to be a billion x86, x64 Windows machines in the Windows ecosystem for the foreseeable future, right? Even if this is the fastest consumer product launch of all time with the Qualcomm Snapdragon X, they're not going to make a dent in the overall market share to encourage like you're like, even Adobe hasn't really support yet, right? Like Adobe, right. Yeah. So
well, I thought they did for Photoshop.
Yeah, they have Photoshop and they have the non-Lightroom Classic version. Those are the two native apps. Apparently, you can run Acrobat. So
good news.
So yeah, and again, in Acrobat, I'm actually going to try to run it. I don't think it actually runs in ARM, but you can actually run it. It's a little weird to get the applications cough them up out of Adobe, but Adobe is saying they're working on an active ARM port of Premiere, and they are working on an active ARM port of Illustrator, I think. So they clearly see some benefit from doing it. I'm not so sure they're doing it all on their own, because I mean, the way I've seen Adobe do things is like usually send over 20 engineers and we'll support it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the question I have, and maybe this is ignorant on my end because I'm just not much of a Mac person or developer, I guess, but like, is any of the work that these developers had to do for the ARM transition on Apple, like, is Windows able to kind of take advantage of some of that and kind of like draft and be like, we've already done some of this ARM work on the Mac space? And
I doubt it.
No.
Yeah, but like if it's like low level instruction supporting stuff, maybe, but like probably there's enough other stuff that has to happen. Like then it's a situation where, is it easier to backport the ARM changes from the Mac branch of the app into the Windows version of the app of the app, or is it easier to just start from scratch and not have to deal with, I don't know. It's the
tool
answer
sets
is it's complicated.
Too, right?
Yeah.
Tool sets are different for Windows, and also I think the other problem is it is, the Apple, God, I don't know what the hell you want to call it. Apple Silicon is ARM, but it is also sort of a fork of ARM too, right? They have
so is Snapdragon,
yeah, I mean, they're both forks in a way. So I don't think it's just simply, it won't be like a lot of people thinking, hey, why don't I just download the source, hit the compile button, and it's ready. I don't think it's going to be as simple as that lift. So,
yeah, like really, there's no way to know without knowing what they're like. You could look at open source projects and see how they set up their stuff, but nobody outside of Adobe knows what Adobe's structure for Adobe. I mean,
and maybe they don't even know.
I would bet that there's different structures for the main different. I bet it's wildly complicated because those apps were all built over different time periods and have different code bases and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, here's another question. So we're talking about like, these cases where, it really sucks. I can't do Cinebench, or, we're having maybe some potential problems over on, some specific application that I use, but does that even matter? Because maybe Snapdragon is meant more for just the generic user who's just going to use Chrome and Office, and those things are going to be fine?
Yeah, no, I agree with you go ahead. Go ahead, Brad.
Sorry, I was going to say, speaking from experience of having used this Mac or this ARM Mac for a couple of years, like that, yeah, just kind of basic productivity, just basic day-to-day usage is where that thing really shines. Because that's what you're doing, right? Web browser, calendar, email, just like basic stuff, like the type of stuff you do on a laptop, like work stuff. And that's probably all the stuff that's going to get ported the fastest, I would assume. Like there are going to be native versions of, I think you said Chrome is already out, right? So that's the stuff you want, because obviously like you want everything to be native to really get all the performance and especially battery life benefits, because it really is the battery life to me that is what really makes this sort of thing shine. Like I've never heard the fan on that laptop ever come on ever, no matter what I'm doing on it. So you really want everything to be native just for your day-to-day stuff.
Yeah, and actually that actually brings up the thing that probably gives me the most pause out of these early reviews. And I think that's the one thing people need to realize. These are early reviews. Apparently people that have had these have had them for a week. And I can tell you these, usually a lot of hardware launches, the plane is coming down like it lands on one wheel and it just kind of bounces along the runway. Oh, we touched it down. We got it, right? These things are not like you think like, oh, everything is perfectly lined up. A lot of times Microsoft is still pushing out updates to this. In fact, the AI features are not even enabled on the VivoBook 15 reviews, and that will be pushed out today, because today is when most people will actually be getting the laptops to review, which, by the way, this is also the day you can walk into a store and buy one of these things. But the thing that so I just want to put that out there, so we're nowhere near final. There's a lot of optimizations that are obviously going to be coming to the operating system, to the systems. So you should withhold judgment. However, the thing that just really is the battery performance claims.
Yeah, that's the big question I had.
So I'm going to reference Dave 2D's battery performance test. So he was very impressed by it. He thought it was really good battery life, but I wasn't really blown away by it. So he compares the VivoBook S15 with a 70-watt battery that has the Snapdragon X Elite. He compares it to the Razer Blade 14, which has a 68 watt-hour battery. And if you don't know, the size of the battery matters. That's basically your laptop's gas tank. That has a AMD, Ryzen 8945HS in it. That's an HS part. It's also a gaming laptop. It has a discrete GPU. I imagine he disabled it, or I don't know what he did exactly. And he also compares it to a Zephyrus G16 with a 90 watt-hour battery. And that has a Core Ultra 9 185H, otherwise known as Meteor Lake. And that also has discrete graphics up to a GeForce RTX 4090 laptop GPU. I don't know what he did in there. I also don't know what the screen resolutions or types of these. The VivoBook S15 does have an OLED, which is a negative impact on battery life. I think the Zephyrus G16 may have an OLED as well. And he also compares it to an Apple MBA MacBook Air 15 that has a 67 watt-hour battery. And he has this thing he calls a Photoshop heavy load. The Snapdragon X gave him about 4 hours and 12 minutes. The Ryzen 8945 gave him 3 hours and 56 minutes. And frankly, that's within margin of error, if you ask me. And then the Zephyrus G16 with Meteor Lake gave him 3 hours and 37 minutes. And when you consider that has a bigger battery, that doesn't look good. But again, there's other things that are at play here. Was discrete graphics turned off? How was it optimized? Gaming laptops are generally not made to be run with the GPU turned off, right? And then for the MacBook Air, he got in Photoshop 4 hours and 29 minutes. So under a heavy load, that's Photoshop. And I don't know what his workload is, but that's mostly single-threaded performance. I mean, honestly, 4 hours and 29 minutes to 3 hours and 37 minutes for a Meteor Lake, which was the worst here.
What's the battery size on those two? The difference? Are they
so
the same size battery?
The Meteor Lake is 90 watt hours, and the VivoBook S15 is 70 watt hours. But again, I don't know what the resolution of the screen is. And that G16 has a GeForce GPU in it. So does the Razer Blade. And then also he has a Netflix. I imagine he's just simply looping Netflix. He got a 7 hours and 47 minutes out of the Snapdragon. He got 6 hours and 11 minutes out of the Ryzen 8945HS. He got 6 hours and 37 minutes, so actually better performance now, out of the Meteor Lake laptop, and the MacBook Air gave him 7 hours and 28. So the VivoBook S15 actually gave him, the best runtime, but, that's not a big difference. 7 hours and 47 minutes versus the next one, which is the MacBook Air at 7 hours and 28 minutes. And even if you're really looking at an hour more than Meteor Lake or an hour more than the Razer Blade 14, which again has a slightly smaller battery and a discrete graphics card, that ain't no big deal to me. And then he also has what he calls a browser loop light load. And the Snapdragon X gave him 10 hours and 46 minutes. The AMD Ryzen 8945, I think it's a Ryzen 9 8945HS, gave him 9 hours and 11 minutes. The Meteor Lake gave him 8 hours and 42 minutes. And the MacBook Air gave him 11 hours and 18 minutes. I don't know what browser he used, whether it was the same. Apple generally, Safari is really, really highly optimized for their platform. So if it's Safari versus Chrome that gets weird, I would recommend using same browser for all of those. But honestly, I'm pretty disappointed by the battery life there.
Which version of the Qualcomm of the Snapdragon X is this? There were three that they have, right? Is this the souped up one, or is this?
This is the bottom end. This is a 78.
Oh.
And if you want to know, so it's basically 12 core, and I think, let me look up the actual, where's the Snapdragon? I had it somewhere.
But basically they have one that's like you can soup up the TDP up to like 45 watts or something, right?
Well, so the VivoBook S15, I believe, is the 45 watt to 50 watt hour.
Oh, okay. So this is potentially then worst case battery on the platform.
Yeah, but I mean, again, the kind of odd duck here is, if you want to look at these, you could argue like, okay, at a 45 watt to 50 watt TDP for that Snapdragon X, and I will get you the actual, let's get you the actual model number here. So I believe the one that's in here is a 78, which is, and of course, and I don't have it, of course. Why don't I have it? Okay. So that's the X1E 78-100. So it's 12 cores, basically the same cache. They're basically all the same. Max multi-thread is 3.4 gigahertz. And I think it basically doesn't boost up over 3.4 gigahertz, I believe, because it has none for dual core boost, which I think is the same as their single core boost. So their top end 84-100 part will have a dual core boost up to 4.2 gigahertz. So, a decent boost up, and then their base clock for max multi-core is 3.8 gigahertz. So this is the slowest of all those, but it is, however, a 45 watt part too. So
yeah, I don't know the other no knock against Dave, but the way laptops handle discrete graphics, even if you disable them, is always weird. And makes me like, I get that nobody has 55 laptops around to test apples to apples on everything.
Right.
But also I'm going to wait and see on those benchmarks, I think.
Yeah, it gets a little weird. But I mean, arguably you could say this Snapdragon X and the VivoBook S15 is a 45 watt part, and you're going up against probably the Ryzen 9, which is a 35 watt HS part, and that Core Ultra 9, I don't know what they tuned it up to, but it could be everywhere from 28 watts up to, as you know, for Intel, it could be, the opportunistically boosting up to 100 watts. We don't know. I don't know what the base clock on the TDP on that laptop is, but they're all sort of gaming laptops. So you could argue those three are sort of at least in the ballpark because they are high TDP parts. The Apple MacBook Air 15, though, I think that's kind of unfair. Although I would have thought the MacBook Air would have done better, because you would think the MacBook Air would just kind of like be giving you that sort of famous 45% more battery life.
Well, is it a new M3 MacBook Air, or is it one that's an M1 that's been sitting around for 3 years and the battery's degraded?
It's a MacBook Air M3.
M3,
so
okay.
It's a 15-incher, so that has a 67 watt-hour battery. So, but again, that is basically, I sort of describe that as the Apple laptop you get for people with bad vision, or old, some people would say old folks in the old world. You can't talk like that anymore. It's for people with bad vision, because you know what? It'd be really nice to have a big ass screen, 15 inches. And I don't need discrete graphics. I don't need all the big ass, GPU of a Pro part. I just need to be able to have my Chrome tab really big.
So you're saying you want a 15-inch MacBook Air? That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds
Gordon's
like.
ultimate laptop. You heard it here.
I would say it's a little odd. And then let me also bring up Matthew for his testing. His ZenBook 14, he got 10 hours. He doesn't. I guess he doesn't. I have to look at the video, but he's basically saying the Meteor Lake laptop he has in his ZenBook 14. He doesn't say the battery capacity though. 10 hours and 20 minutes. The VivoBook S15, 13 hours and 40 minutes. That actually looks pretty decent. And then the VivoBook S14 with an Intel Ultra 9 185. So that is a tuned up Meteor Lake. That is 14 hours and 29 minutes. I don't know exactly what the battery capacity was in that laptop, and I do want to point out the thing that kind of got me, that was like this kind of like really big glaring red light. And if you look at the mobile SERP review, Jonathan basically says battery life is a mixed bag. My initial experience with the X Elite was fairly disappointing since it didn't live up to the battery life promises made by Qualcomm, Microsoft, and others. I was able to burn through about 70% battery life in roughly 4 hours, which frankly isn't much better, and in some cases worse than x86 chips I've tried from Intel and AMD. However, after fiddling some settings, the battery life improved significantly. He basically cranked the refresh rate of the panel from 120 hertz to 60 hertz, and I think he got it up to about 7 hours by doing that.
I mean, you can do that on any laptop, though. That's
Yeah, but also, like, for just Qualcomm's story on these has to be like the AMD and Intel story is going to be, hey, our laptops run all of your software, right? Like that's just it's, you want to get a laptop that runs everything, perfect, you got it. Qualcomm's story, if they're going to counter that, has to be, look at how much battery life we have. They have to have something that's not like, yeah, we run most of your software pretty good, and the rest of it's kind of, let's not talk about Premiere. And also our battery life is exactly the same, and the cost is exactly the same as these other laptops that work 100% of the time. That's a bad story for them.
So with an asterisk at the end, it's like, hey, check back in a year when everything is ARM native, and then it'll be great. You know, like that may well be the case, but nobody is going to want to hear that.
Yeah. Well, so are you saying you would be okay if they came out and said, hey, you know what? Sure, we have some compatibility problems right now, but look at the battery life you're getting. You're willing to take that trade-off?
I'm not saying I personally am willing to take that trade-off, but I'm saying that, like, of the things that people buy laptops for, it's either, hey, it's really, the battery lasts a really long time, or I can play games on it, or it's really fast, right? And if they only do one of those things with an asterisk and a subset of the cases and their battery life, like if they're asking consumers to trade ultimate x86 compatibility for nothing, no price difference, no battery life improvement, nothing, like then they've got no story. Yeah. Then we're back to the Surface RT. It's just fast this time.
Well, actually, I mean, but here's the thing: we've been here before, Gordon, right? Where there's some scenarios where it's a native app and it runs great, and then sometimes there's a non-native app and it runs like crap. I mean, but this feels different, though, right, Gordon? Like, or do you think we're in the same situation, and ultimately a year from now, this is going to be a nothing burger?
I'm probably more hesitant at this point. Like I just want to see these laptops in about 3 months. It feels like I want to see them with updated firmware. I want to see them with updated OSs, and I want to see more models. And here's the last thing I'm going to bring up from the reviews that I've run this morning, and this is from Matthew again. He basically did noise measurements of the VivoBook S15. There are 3 settings. Let me find out because I actually did here.
You mean 3 like laptop fan curves?
So there's three performance settings you can run. So there's performance, there's balance, there's whisper.
And this is for the fans or for performance tuning?
Oh, damn it. Sorry. This is for I have to unlock this.
Is it the IT
need
holding you
Windows
back?
Hello is the problem.
I can't even get to it now.
No, it's the IT.
So basically there's whisper, there's balance, and there's performance, and then there's full speed. Whisper is, and this is as I understand it, it's the power for the SoC or the Snapdragon, including the VRMs, so the power delivery system, and the memory, so the LPDDR5X. Whisper is 20 watts, standard is 35 watts, performance is 45 watts. And for Matthew's review, by the way, go and watch his review, David Lee's, Windows Central, Tom's Guide, and last one is
Mobile Syrup.
Mobile Syrup. Please go look at the reviews because I don't want to steal all of their benchmarks, and I didn't because you should actually read the reviews. That's why they put all their hard work into it. But Matthew did some noise measurements on it, and in whisper mode, 37 dBA, which you basically can't hear it. Right?
Yeah, that's like room tone.
Right, and then 45 dB in balance. That fan's, you could probably hear it if it's very quiet in the room, right? I would say. And then if you crank it up to performance setting, which is at full 45 watts, it's a 50 dB. So that to me sort of like, I thought I was promised an Apple-like existence, which is the thing doesn't get hot, and I'm not going to listen to fans. And yet we're talking when you have this thing cranked up to performance setting at 45 watt TDP, it's 50 dBA. It's kind of like what? I don't get it, right? But again, I really do think people need to withhold judgment because this is the first laptop. There's going to be a lot of updates coming. At the same time, this is not like, is this really worth trading 100% fidelity of x86 for this?
So do you think that did Microsoft send these out or did ASUS send these out?
I'm sure ASUS sent them out because so again, you have Tom's Guide, you have Windows Central, you have Mobile Syrup, you have Dave, and you have Matthew that have the ASUS S15.
Yeah, they all have the same one, right?
They all have the same one.
Weird.
They all have 16 gigs of RAM, by the way, which helps with battery consumption, power consumption as well, less memory, right? And I would imagine this is an ASUS-sponsored party. At the same time, I don't think they could do it without Microsoft giving them the go-ahead, unless they want to risk getting yelled at by Microsoft. So,
yeah, wow.
Well,
so I mean, like, there's definitely some things like I want to see more. All right, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, this is not like I'm not blown away here. Like I was just kind of thinking beforehand, like if you had to go buy a laptop right now, today, and you wanted very, very quiet, like no fan, very quiet. You want, reasonably good battery life.
Surface Pro, baby.
No, the answer is MacBook Air, I think.
50,
right?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what you would buy? Is that what you're saying?
I would because again, I'm a professional. I give people advice to friends, family. Like, I mean, honestly, the way people use their laptops today, they could buy a stupid Chromebook, right? And they wouldn't know the difference. They wouldn't even know, like, oh, what version of Windows is this running? Yeah, it's that Windows. Oh, okay, right? Because most people don't. They live in a browser. Honestly, again, that's the nice thing about Apple is they've kicked everybody in the ass over the last year to get them in line. And to me, I have no problem saying, if you can live that Mac world, I can't personally. I just cannot do it myself. It just doesn't work for me. I can't live in that kind of lifestyle. But if you want really quiet, reasonably good battery life, and you want basically everything to work, because everything does work, you're not kind of like, oh, I'm going to run this. No AVX2 flag doesn't run, right? That's I would say a MacBook Air, right? To me, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Which I will say I did go to bestbuy.com and look at what they have for sale. And yeah, they've got Lenovo's, Microsoft Surfaces, Samsung's, HP's, yeah. So like, and it's all add to cart. So that is out there.
It's funny. I went to Amazon and did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go to the Copilot Plus PC page, it's got a couple of Surfaces and then that Asus Vivo laptop that we were talking about as well.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah, it's a I don't know.
I mean, it sounds like more to come. Just wait and see, right? Like just hold your breath for a little while longer. I mean, I think people wanted to know right now. Is the promise delivered?
I think my advice is you wait for more reviews of more units. You wait for more. Again, they're pushing a big update from Windows, so you want to wait for that. Don't draw any judgments from this, but definitely you want to I want to wait. So I would wait for reviews of more devices. Microsoft, I bet Surface is going to be the most nailed down of all of them because it's their flagship launch. They're going to want to make sure everything is lined up. At the same time, recall, right? There's just these things they definitely screwed up some of these things before. So I would wait for that. But then honestly, I would wait for Ryzen AI 300. That's probably a month and a half out. And then at that point, you know what? I want to see if Lunar Lake really does it. Because if I can get all the goodness of quiet, no fan noise, really good performance, and the fidelity of x86 for all my Windows apps, I would wait basically till Lunar Lake at this point.
Makes sense.
If you can wait.
Yeah, buy the laptop. If you need a laptop today, buy a laptop today, right?
Yeah. And if we didn't say specifically, I think maybe we did earlier, but Mark Hochman is getting devices in. He will be testing that stuff. We should have him on when we feel like he's at a place where he can come in and be like, hey, you know what? Here's my testing, because I want to hear from him. So. Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like more to come. The launch is right now just people still waiting, embracing, and being like, well, first indication is not great.
Change is scary.
So, yeah, we'll see. I don't know, because for me, I don't know. I feel like, and I did a video on the channel with Steve over at Gamers Nexus, asking him hey, if ARM does so well right now, what does that mean for x86, and ultimately, what does that mean for the desktop? I feel like I keep hearing people say, hey, the desktop is long for this world, or the way we think of desktop right now, and it's because maybe ARM will take over. And what would ARM even look like on the desktop? Who knows? So
look, think of all the ARM CPUs you could pack into the TDP of a single 14900K. Have 12 in there.
If you can scale like that,
600 cores.
Yeah, maybe.
What if you need AVX2 though?
Too bad. Sorry. Also, what if
you can buy an add-in card?
Yeah, and also all your applications are dual threaded. So
womp womp.
Yeah.
All right. Well, should we talk about some video games then? I don't have a transition. Gordon, do you have a transition?
I've heard of those.
Yeah.
Video games.
Yeah. So, okay. First question: how many people at Summer Games Fest, Brad Shoemaker, were talking about Snapdragon X Elite and the excitement around x86 versus ARM? No, actually, was anyone there talking about ARM at all?
I don't think I heard it spoken of the whole weekend.
Was anybody talking about oh, my game is going to be optimized for Apple M chips?
Definitely not. I'm trying to think. There is the slow trickle of games coming to iOS and then macOS, right? Like Assassin's Creed, I believe. Death Stranding.
Yeah, Ubi pretty much announced that they have a deal with Apple to roll out their
Shadows.
Yeah.
I believe Shadows is the new one. This year's Assassin's Creed is coming to macOS. I believe it will run on ARM.
Native
laptops.
Yeah.
I believe so.
No, it's using their porting toolkit is my guess.
Oh.
Right. That's right. Yeah, not to derail, but yes, Apple actually has been kind of laying the groundwork for making games easier to port to macOS.
All right. Well,
Brad, did
good on them.
Nintendo announce a sequel to hit 2017 banger ARMS 2?
Oh man. No, but there's
both ARMs. No, it'd just be called both ARMs.
Yeah, there's some latent brand synergy there waiting to happen, I think.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time.
There we go. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's back it up. Brad Shoemaker of Nextlander fame. You physically went down to LA last week to look at the charred remains of E3,
Yes.
and said, look at the fiery phoenix that is coming out of the ground.
I stayed in a hotel across from the LA Convention Center, which would have been game changing 15 years ago for me.
Was there a Dark Souls banner on it?
There was nothing, man. That place was deserted. Just depressing.
Wait, is it where the God Games lot used to be, or is it?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
wow, really?
They have built some nice hotels where the God lot used to be.
Oh. Wow, I've been offered all sorts of things in that place. That was a scary place.
Yes, that parking lot has been salted.
Okay, good.
Okay. Well, so yeah, you were there to see video games, and we'll definitely talk about video games. We're all gamers here, but I also do want to look at it through the lens of the PC, and specifically, yeah.
I feel bad for bringing up ARMS too.
Wow. Yeah. How rude. Well, maybe Nintendo will port. Actually, we still get comments on that video that me and you did about will Nintendo ever port to the PC.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. People are looking for it. They want to know.
Hot button issue.
Yeah. But that's for another day. I guess another question I have is before we get into like games and stuff like that, how prevalent was Steam Deck talk there, or handheld gaming?
It didn't really come up in the demos I was in, but I think that's probably as much on me not asking about it as anything. Like it was a very indie heavy show, I will say.
But I feel like indies are usually like quick to come out and be like, oh, hey, and we're Steam Deck verified, or, this is going to be a great Steam Deck game.
Next Fest demos were a shocking number of those were Steam Deck verified.
Yeah, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, the demos, yeah, because the demos are like shipping code, right? Like they have to be able to say, hey, you can play this on a Steam Deck now.
But there's a process still.
Yeah. And then my sense of watching indie games come out on Steam is I assume kind of deck verification is something you arrive at relatively late, right? Like you need to be kind of locked, right?
There's a performance aspect to it that means you want to wait until pretty near the end. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would guess that's also a big part of why something like that wouldn't come up at a show like this, because they're probably not late enough to. I mean, I don't know what Valve standards are. If you have to go through Valve to say that,
it's an easier process than say a console cert, but it is still console cert-ish. Like they look at things like text size and whether you have the right button glyphs and all that kind of stuff before they get.
So I would guess it's just a little too early in the process for most of them. Okay. I want to say like one game maybe, which is coming out in July. I don't want to say the game in case I've got it wrong, but I think like one of the developers maybe mentioned that they would be playable on Steam Deck day one.
Okay. Well, did you walk away from there? Did you hop on the plane from LA and sit back in your chair for the hour-and-a-half flight or whatever and just think, the game space we're in a good space right now? How'd you feel coming out of there?
It felt pretty good. There were really a healthy variety of games, like a ton of really excellent looking indie games. Major publishers there with some stuff, but it's kind of a light year for them. But yeah, like it. I feel like the nature is healing cliche is maybe a little overused, but it definitely felt a little more like, hey, look, there's an industry event happening. Like everybody's kind of converging on LA in June again to look at video games. Like there's some, obviously with the backdrop of like endless layoffs and studio closures and deals not getting signed, like the business is not in a healthy state, but just seeing people who make games come together excited to show off what they've been working on was pretty heartwarming.
Well, and Will, from a distance, how did you feel?
So it was a busy week for me because it was the last week of school last week. And I wasn't paying as much attention as I normally do.
You can't be like, hold on, daughter, you need to calm down. There's a game announcement right now.
The big stuff is happening.
Yeah.
The scuttlebutt I've heard is that people are starting to hint that they might spend money on games again, like not consumers, but publishers and the people who fund games, so that we've talked about this a little bit before, but like, basically, since DICE last year in February until now, the number of game deals that are happening, especially at the like indie to big indie level, like the $2 to $20 million range, is really, really, really low. So that means that you think about a game having a 18-month to 3 or 4 year development cycle. That means that there are going to be big gaps in releases right now, starting next year, maybe early 2026, and going through 2027 or 2028. There are definitely people that are self-funding. There are people that raised money before and are fine, but we've seen a bunch of layoffs. We've seen a bunch of studio closures, especially in the small and kind of indie scale. So the fact that people are starting to sign games again is exciting.
Well, and what was the balance between these big AAA blockbusters that are getting shown off versus indies and medium scale kind of stuff?
maybe kind of 70-30 or maybe even 80-20 indies to big games. This was my first Summer Game Fest, but my understanding is that some of the big publishers haven't even participated before this year. Like I want to say this was Sony's first year there actually. So like bigger AAA games even being there period is a relatively new phenomenon, it sounds like.
What can you just give us a rundown of what E3, for people who don't know, is a huge convention, like fills the entire LA Convention Center and like most of the downtown area, and there's events and stuff happening at night all the time. Like it's a thing that is so big you can't see it all, even if you go and spend the entire time.
It's a trade show.
It is
oh boy,
like CES or Computex or NAB. It is a big giant trade show. And then for a while they did E3 in Santa Monica like 20 years ago, where it was like in a couple of hotel ballrooms and like suites all over Santa Monica. Like,
where does an airplane hangar?
Yeah, where does this fit on that kind of spectrum? Is it more like the latter?
Yeah, it's more like that, but even smaller, I would say. Like this all basically fit within a city block, give or take. It's an interesting little event space that I gather is like kind of one business that has taken over a bunch of disused buildings on this one block in Los Angeles. And so there's like an outdoor courtyardy kind of area in between these buildings, and you just kind of go in and out of the little buildings to see like Sony is set up in this little space, and Ubisoft or not Ubisoft was not there, but like, or a Capcom, EA have these like little like what may have been storefronts at one time, they've been kind of converted into event space.
Oh, that's kind of fun.
And they did have a one larger room that was like kind of the closest thing to a show floor, except it's like 20 kiosks or something. It's tiny. And this thing is also like entirely sort of by appointment only. There is no actual show floor as such that you can just walk around and like hop on a kiosk and just start playing a game like you could at E3. Like that aspect of it is just gone.
I was going to say, because that's the thing. I think people maybe don't realize that E3, there's this huge trade show floor, and like anybody who had a badge could walk around there and just like wait in line for the game that they wanted to try or whatever. And there were also like each of the big booths would have like a little theater room that held like 20 or 25 people maybe, where they would do live gameplay sessions. But then in addition to that, there were like backroom demos for press and buyers and publishers and stuff like that, where you could go and either get hands-on, or you get like a producer for the game would sit down with you and talk to you about the game. Often they'd show like, I don't know, that's where I saw like, what's the Will Wright game? The Spore. That's where I saw Spore the first time, with some backroom demo where it's like you're sitting down with somebody who's one of the producers on the thing, and they talk to you about how you can build life from the ground up and all, whatever. But there's like 3 different things happening there. And this seems like, is this more like just the backroom demos, it seems like?
There was nothing like quite that private. Like I've definitely been in some like very makeshift meeting rooms in Concourse Hall at E3, it's just like the temporary walls erected into a tiny room. Like this is a little more formal than that. But I think like everything they were booking meetings for was at least like a big crowd of people being ushered in. Like I saw Monster Hunter Wilds, and there was, probably 25 people in that room.
It was like group meetings.
Yeah, like big group thing. But some of those were like appointment only, somewhat exclusive. I didn't necessarily get access to every big game there that I wanted to see. So
wait, are you saying the Brad from Nextlander and Giant Bomb fame does not have the poll? Like to be like, oh crap, hold on, it's Brad. Get everyone out of the way. Open the door.
I know that the umbrella that you are under definitely does a lot of talking for you, and when the umbrella changes, there's some building back up that has to be done.
Do you feel like people saw you? Oh, with Nextlander, they just do streams now. They're not part of a big website.
That's a big question.
Yeah, are you an influencer?
I would be curious, dude. I've been asking myself that question daily for the last 3 years. Like, in some cases, yes, we have been recategorized under that label.
Because actually, I mean, like and sorry, we're getting inside baseball here, but like even at Computex, like a lot of times I'd be like, oh, who's your PR rep? And they're like, oh, that's not the PR rep we talk to. And they're like, oh, because we're media, and then they've got influencer PR, or like the appointments are sometimes different on that kind of stuff, and So I didn't know if it was the same thing.
They start the influencer appointments with like, what's up, Holmes?
Yeah,
it's your boy.
What up, dude?
Yeah,
how you doing? You got to have a beanie, right, Gordon? Those PR reps have beanies.
Everybody goes by their internet name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Gordon, did you get to see any of this announcement stuff? Anything you were excited about gaming wise?
No. What I just was surprised there was something even happening. I thought it was sort of they pulled the plug on everything, and like, really, they're still doing shows, but I guess so.
Yeah, this thing, my understanding, like I said, is my first one, but it sounds like it's gotten kind of exponentially bigger every year for the 3 years they've been doing it. So it's like, is it going to move into the West Hall of the convention center next year? Probably not, but it seems like it's becoming more and more institutionalized. Like pretty much just about all the big publishers are on board with it now. So there is some successor to E3 now that seems to be settling into place.
Well, doesn't that just walk into the same trap that E3 was, which is, it turns in more and more of a spectacle, and then people start pouring more into their, booths and the buses and all the crazy stuff outside, and then pretty soon they're like, oh, we're spending $3 million to push this game. This is not really worth it,
Yeah, well, it seems like the spectacle is all being siloed off in the live streams now. The big produced video package that they put out for everybody to watch that gets 50 million viewers or whatever. And this thing seemed pretty low cost from what I could see, very chill. Multiple PR people and publishers I talked to seemed very excited about how low key it was, not having to yell to be heard on a show floor anymore. So it feels like this thing can coexist with the spectacle and the video presentations pretty well.
Do they it's one of the things that's interesting to me about this whole thing is Keighley started this years ago. Summer Games Fest was a thing that happened concurrent with E3 back in the day, where there were they took over a theater in the Staples Center, and they were just doing talks and stuff. It was kind of like JVC, but GDC, but not really more commercial, I guess is the way to put it. But it's the whole thing has a kind of weird vibe because the publishers and mostly the publishers and the platforms have taken over those video marketing channels, right? Nintendo started doing directs a decade ago now, and it kind of changed the way. We didn't need to have a big giant Nintendo keynote anymore because they do 6 directs a year, right? And Sony does the same thing. Microsoft does the same thing now.
Yeah, Nintendo pulling out of their in-person theater press conference at E3, I think, was the canary in the coal mine for E3, which, like you said, was at least 10 years ago. And then everybody else started following suit, and then by the time Sony also pulled out of the show, I think it was pretty much writing on the wall.
Well, I think I heard somebody say I think it was Xbox still had a gathering, but they just essentially watched the stream. Was that you?
I went to that hoping for more in-person something there.
And they got up and talked a little bit, but they didn't really.
The executive team did get up and speak briefly, but it was very off the cuff and not televised, not part of the stream. So only people in the theater saw that.
Was there a Q&A afterward?
No, nothing like that.
Nothing.
As far as the presentation, it was a very nice, very, very big screen. I'll say that, but it was just watching the video that everybody else saw online on a bigger screen. So even Xbox is not doing a big in-person gala stage thing anymore.
So did Sony did a thing before, I guess?
But they did a state of play, which is something that it's their Nintendo Direct equivalent, which they do multiple times a year as well. And in the past, they had done what they call a PlayStation showcase around the E3 timeframe, which was that's how they revealed the PS5. That was much more, here's our big annual thing.
Yeah.
And so I think it was notable that they just did a state of play again, I think, this year. It was only 30 minutes, pretty low key.
Does Sony talk about their PC stuff on state of plays and stuff like that?
Yes. Adam, you probably saw.
Yeah. Well, that was I definitely want to get a sense of that and the PC, because I don't know, maybe I'm in my own little silo, but I feel oh man, everybody's talking about how, oh man, we're just releasing on the PC now. No, we need to get to this new platform, and guess what? We all benefit from it as PC gamers. Yeah. So
I was kind of gobsmacked when they revealed God of War Ragnarok on that state of play for PC finally, and these are not outlandish features. We talk about these things every day, but to see them on a state of play, a Sony console focused stream where they were DLSS, XESS, here's all the upscaling, 21:9 support, they were going into refresh rate, you know what I mean? It was just this is so unlike the Sony of the last 25 years in video games to be talking about stuff like that on a stream. It was such a sign of the times kind of thing.
Did the chat erupt and be oh, why are you porting to the PC? Keep it on the PlayStation.
I think well, yes, those console fanboys exist, sadly. But I think by and large, most people are just very excited to have more and better places to play those games. So seeing Sony down there was a big one. They had Astrobot and Lego Horizon Adventures I think Astrobot's still PS5 only as far as they've announced so far, but Lego Horizon Adventures, PS5, PC, and Switch, like right out of the gate, like they've said it, like they are just announcing games for PC now when they announce them for PS5.
Well,
like
was there
ship has kind of sailed?
Was there any of the buzz because of Helldivers 2? Like, oh crap, Helldivers 2 is a huge deal to have a day and date on the PC, so we got to start doing that more.
Yeah, I'm sure. I absolutely think that thing, like, it's weird how much of an anomaly that launch was, like absolutely nobody, least of all Arrowhead, saw that explosive launch coming. But like, where would Sony corporate's head be at if that hadn't happened? Like, would they be pushing this hard on PC releases this fast if they hadn't had like the breakout hit of the year, which is mostly selling on PC? I don't know.
I mean, it makes sense for multiplayer stuff to launch simultaneously, right? It makes sense on single player story driven games that they can sell for $80-$90 with special editions and all that stuff, and not pay 30% to Valve to have an exclusivity window on their platforms where they get the bigger cut, right? I see both sides of that. I think that, like, it's amazing to me that Sony and Microsoft are both releasing their console games on PC now. That's the thing that is amazing.
And being excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And talking about it.
Yeah.
It's not a shameful
not just like hey, it'll get ported later, somebody will handle it.
Well, or not, in Microsoft's case, leaving it on the Microsoft store. They're actually releasing them on Steam where people like to play games.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Well, so, do you feel like the PC was healthy? Had a healthy representation?
Definitely.
Were a lot of the demos being shown on PC? And
so there's like multiple ways to approach that question. Like, basically everything is shown on PC at events like this now. Like, it's been trending that way for a long time, and we're just fully there now. Like, I mean, granted, you don't see what they're running on. Like, the PC is always hidden away somewhere, but like that became the cliche going to E3 over the last like 10 years. Like, if the controller cord was leading to like under a table with drapes hanging off of it, you knew it was running on a PC.
If you could just feel the heat emanating from the drapes,
like even for games that were like console first, you're like, okay, it's still in development. It's definitely just running on a PC under there or some kind of like dev kit system.
The best were the old Xbox 360 games, early Xbox 360 games that were running on Xbox 360 dev kits, which I think were G4 Macs.
I think that's right.
Oh, yeah. So you'd have a giant G4 Mac sitting on a table someplace, and then they'd have a plastic Xbox shell sitting up where you could see it. That was like, oh no, it's clearly not running on this dev kit box.
Right. So like basically everything I played, I would say, short of Astrobot, was running on a PC in some form or another. But the thing that's changed, like we were just talking about, is not only are they showing them on PC for just kind of expedience now, like when the game's not done and optimized, but like now they're all coming out on PC as well.
Well, speaking of that, friend of the show, Ivan, in the chat asked, have they promised optimizations for PC ports? Were they talking about like, hey, yes, now we are releasing it for the PC, and also here are the optimizations?
It didn't really come up in the demos that I had, but this was also like a pretty packed event. Like, there was definitely more there than.
And they're here to show the games.
So it was, and a lot of those appointments were between like 20 and 30 minutes. So it was very much like get in, play the game, absorb as much info as you can, and get out. So there wasn't a lot of room for.
Well, you didn't be like, hey, that. So what are you running on? What GPU?
You got XeSS2 support here?
Or?
Yeah. Hey, frame generation FSR3, Actually, what was there any talk about that, like AI kind of features, frame generation, upscaling tech?
Not really.
Because I feel like the discourse is like, oh, those lazy developers they're leaning on upscaling as a crutch, or that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that like the heaviest like AAA game I played was Stalker 2, which was running on a PC because I saw a desktop at one point. But even there, it was really just focused on, I had 30 minutes with it, and it was just how much of this can I see in 30 minutes.
And that's a PC game. Like,
yes,
did they
definitely
feel like, hey, PC platform first on this one?
Tough to. Well, they did offer me the choice of controller or mouse and keyboard when I sat down. So
okay.
What'd you pick?
Is that like a litmus test? Do you think the developers are like, oh, hey, if they pick the controller, then dumb down the presentation, give them presentation B, but if they pick the mouse and keyboard, give them the real presentation?
I picked controller, but mostly because it was just easier to lean back on the little couch they had and play, and not like lean forward to the.
Some people in the chat, they're going to be pissed. Wow, you're just a dirty controller player.
Brad find out you play it inverted too.
Oh,
look, sometimes it's just about whatever's easiest to get the demo done.
Okay. Yeah. Just joking there. Well, yeah. Well, what were you excited about? A friend of the show, Coffee's asking, what games are you most excited about or interested in coming out of the next 12 months that you saw?
Let's see. I'm looking at my list of stuff here. Monster Hunter Wilds looked great. Like I really didn't expect that to be as intriguing to me as it was. And
is that in the Worlds vein, or is that like a mainline?
Yeah, it's very much a successor to Worlds, but it's much more connected now. It seems like they've kind of done away with loading screens entirely. You just kind of like run in and out of towns, out into the field, and just pick up your hunts as you go. I mean, it's like what every other open world game has been doing for 15 years, right? But like even World felt a little too siloed off with, you're in town, you're doing stuff. Now you're out in the field. Now you're in this interface doing multiplayer. Like it seems a lot more seamless with that stuff. I'm pretty sure that was running on a PC. Like it was running, frankly, I think it was running too well to be on a console at the time.
Well, actually,
it looked very nice.
Yeah. What was the last major Monster Hunter? After Worlds,
right?
No, after Worlds.
Rise was
Rise. Yeah. So Rise actually ran really good on handhelds, like the Steam Deck and the Ally. I felt like that. I was already past Worlds, I think, at that point. So Rise played really well on a handheld. So I wonder if this might be a little too beefy for that.
I think Rise was a Switch port, I believe.
It was a Switch game.
I think Rise was a Switch game that got ported to PC. This very much looks like the very lavish, expensive, probably very taxing. It may well run on the Steam Deck. I don't know, but it definitely some big monsters in there, some very nice looking environmental effects and stuff. So I don't know what they're going to do with that one. I don't know. Did Dragon's Dogma 2 run well on a Steam Deck? I'm guessing no.
I didn't try.
They had it has a check mark, I think.
Oh, okay.
When I played it for about 10 minutes, and I was like, oh no, I'm going to just stream this from the PC in the other room because it's a nice looking game that I want to look nice when I'm playing it.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm looking it up on Steam right now.
My recollection is that I would have put it in the playable category, not in the good category.
Sure. It does. Oh, I don't see the badge. Oh, unsupported. It says unsupported.
No, it has de novo is the problem. So it didn't work. That's why I had to stream it. Oh, never mind. Okay. My recollection.
Oh yeah, de novo. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Yeah.
I'll say if we're just talking games that I thought were cool.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a PC centric one for sure. Battle Aces, there's a weird RTS resurgence happening all of a sudden.
Yeah. I feel like there was a lot of talk about Battle Aces and then some other RTS, but yeah, RTS. I mean, you are a known Dota 2 fanatic,
yes, and StarCraft 2. It's been a long time since RTS felt like it had any place of prominence in the culture.
Yeah,
outside of.
And that is definitely a PC centric thing. Do you feel like this was coming at? Because I feel like a lot of the talk was, hey, we want to bring RTS back, but we want it to be more bite size and kind of easier to pick up for new players. But was also part of it hey, we want people on console to get into it easily as well? Or
as far as so Battle Aces is definitely only announced for PC so far.
Oh, okay.
I can't speak for Stormgate is maybe the other one you're thinking about. That's actually coming out in early access at the end of next month. That might be headed toward console. This, from what I've played of Battle Aces, it would be very hard to adapt to a controller.
Is it it's StarCraft fast?
Yes. It feels very much and the lead on the game is the lead multiplayer designer of StarCraft 2. So the feel, that pace of action, that amount of micromanagement is very much the same.
Cool.
Or feels very similar. So it would be tough to play a game like that, I think, on anything but mouse and keyboard.
I mean, look, there's a new Homeworld game. RTSs are back, right?
Yeah, everything comes back eventually, right?
I mean, Perfect Dark's back. Everything's cyclical,
Yes, for sure. The quick pitch for Battle Aces is it kind of condenses the RTS, the arc of an RTS multiplayer game into a 10-minute window. They've kind of, I wouldn't say that they've definitely not dumbed anything down. They've just streamlined a lot of the production aspect of things where you're not placing buildings anymore. You're not managing your workers. A lot of that stuff is automated. It's much more about what tech am I going to pursue? What types of units and how many am I going to make? And am I going to expand? Am I going to go after their expansions? Am I going to try to harass? It's kind of all the same pieces that I remember from playing StarCraft 2 online, just in a much, much faster.
Are you going to memorize build orders?
So it's deck based. It's not faction based. There are no factions. Whoa. It is your standard kind of free to play. You're going to play this to grind out access to more units kind of thing.
Huh. Okay.
Wow. So what you're going to have is you have 8 units you can take into any match, and so you're just going to build like decks of units to bring in.
So it's kind of like Clash Royale almost.
Yo, now I'm in.
Sort
now
of,
I'm
yes. It's actually not.
Give me that.
It's actually not entirely similar to that, but it feels very much like a hardcore RTS. Like, they have blink units like the Stalkers in StarCraft that can blink around, and they feel exactly like my crappy amateur blink micro came right back. The muscle memory came like right back playing it, so it's very much that style of RTS.
Was there an on-screen APM meter?
Not that I saw.
Not yet. Not yet.
But I'm sure they're tracking that.
Okay.
Well, yeah. So I'm not going to claim to be a huge RTS player. I have played my fair share of them, but my strategy was always turtling and just trying to amass and then overwhelm. It sounds like you can't really do it in this.
In a 10-minute match, you don't have a lot of time to turtle.
Dang it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm back out. Yeah.
I mean, you could pursue like a lot of early expansions. Like expanding to another, to your second base is one key. You literally hit the Z key and your expansion just springs up on the next resource patch. Yeah, like you don't manage any of that stuff. And they showed me they have a unit in there that is an 80 supply unit. You have supply in an RTS that dictates, it's like one Marine is one supply, that kind of thing. And you can have like up to 200. They have one unit in there that is almost half of your entire supply for one giant. It's just this like gigantic floating tentacle alien thing that kind of murders everything around it. So you could turtle up and defend your bases and work toward that crazy unit.
All right. Well, speaking of aces, one of the ones that I was excited about was Fallen Aces. And I mean, because that just looks like Wolfenstein 3D, kind of, like classic 3D shooter. Did you get a chance to check that one out?
No, I had not seen that before. Okay.
Yeah, so no, if you watch the trailer on Steam, like in motion when you're actually playing it, it looks like a I don't know how to describe it, but like a
it looks like interactive fiction almost.
Yeah, but the way that you're turning around, like the actual character sprites are flat, kind of like like in Duke Nukem 3D, like as you move, they're just flat on the
kind of billboarding effect or whatever.
Yeah, I love that look. I don't know. I really love that there's all these like retro looks of like PS1 games and like games that look like early 3D computer games. Like
this is a cool style where it's like the engine is retro, but the characters are super nice, like high res cell shade or cell animated art. But I saw like there are a good number of like PlayStation 1 looking games out there. Like that's kind of big in indies these days, is like people replicating that specific dithered look of the PS1, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of good aesthetics out there these days.
Yeah. Well, Davina, friend of the show, Davina says Boomer Shooters. Yep. Mm-hmm. Boomer and the Fallen Aces has a demo up right now. Oh no, you can buy it. It's early access. Oh, okay. I didn't even realize. Oh, June 14th is out. It said it's out now. Okay. Well, crap. I need to go buy that then.
Yeah.
Do you know if there was any updates to Gordon's favorite World of Warships?
No, I don't believe they were in attendance at this thing.
They used to roll heavy,
right?
Back in the World of Tanks days.
Oh yeah, I never
all the time.
I never went to one. My understanding was the World of Tanks parties were somewhat infamous.
I climbed into a tank one time for a tested video. I don't know if we ever did the video, but they had a tank parked out in front of the convention center, and they were like, "You should get up in the tank." I was like, "Hell yeah, I'm getting in the tank. Why not?"
Well, I feel like wargaming, would always have a big booth, even like a PAX or something like that.
They seem to drop a lot of money at E3 from what I saw.
So I think they've basically fallen off the edge of the world, basically, because they peaked a long time ago. The player base is just simply unhappy across the board. So
the live service circle of life is harsh and follows an always predictable path.
Although, it's funny, as I've been watching YouTube videos on people who love tanks, I had no idea that they were the entire world of nerdy people that are just into their tanks and arguing back and forth about tanks of all eras is just kind of insane.
Wow. They have one of the best rules on their message boards of any place I've ever seen, which is, don't post classified information on our message boards, because people will get in arguments with each other about like capabilities of their tanks and the anti-tank weapons and all that, and then they'll post some like classified DoD instruction manual about how to use some javelin missile or something. It's fantastic.
How does your tank defend against this?
Yeah.
They're like, well, I never even heard of this. What is this?
Yeah, it's actually a 45 kilogram C4 payload, not a 47 kilogram C, and then it's some top secret everywhere on the thing.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's some industry.
People have gone to jail. Just to be clear, people have posted stuff on the World of Tanks and World of Warships forums and then gone to jail.
Really?
Yes.
Gordon, did you know this?
Yeah, I mean, I know people, they get really into their argument. I mean, again, it's just like, wow, I did not realize there's this heavy sub-world of tank nerdism and I'm just talking about the World War II tanks that I've been watching YouTube videos on, because it's just like, what,
Wow.
Argue about every little aspect of tanks. It's just like, okay.
Dang. All right. And any arguments that you had at SGF, Brad? Or do you feel like it was all everyone was all happy?
Oh, just peace, love, and video games, man.
Yeah.
It was very chill. It was extremely low key, very easy to get between appointments. Everybody seemed to be in a good mood. It was
no fighting over booth space. I don't know. Sometimes at a trade show, you're just like, dude, I have an appointment. Get out of my way, or you're in my way, or like,
yeah, none of that whatsoever. It was very, very, very well managed. Like, just well put together. Like, it was booking the schedule was a lot just because you were trying to fit so much in, and there's so many different things to see. But once you're there and you've got your schedule and you're just going, it was way easier than E3 ever was. As far as, I mean, you can book meetings back to back. I'll put it that way. Like, you could not do that at E3 because you could never guarantee that you could get to the next meeting on time if they were right up against each other. And here it's like you're just walking 50 feet or something.
That's nice.
Dang.
Yeah.
I have a correction. It's the War Thunder forums, not the World of Tanks forums.
Oh,
Apologies.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sure people have leaked information on the World of Tanks forum too. So.
Yeah.
And YouTube, right? People just simply,
people get people, man.
All right.
Well, it's just, it's like, it's arguing about like this processor and setting this on your CPU and your motherboard and blah, 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 except it's a tank. So,
was there anything that you came out of, like maybe some high level trend that you were not excited about, Brad? Like, it was everybody talking about their AI strategy, and you're just like, oh my god, like,
no, definitely no mention of AI whatsoever.
Oh, that's good. That's different than Computex then, because literally everyone had an AI strategy.
Yeah, nothing off-putting at all, really. Honestly, like,
were people talking about layoffs and stuff?
A little bit here and there. I mean, not at demos, certainly, like if you
like, hey, sorry, I don't know much about this demo. My buddy got laid off. He was the one supposed to be doing it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there was a little bit of discussion outside of things, if you had friends around who work in the business that you talk to, like, a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Not a ton though. Like I said, I think everybody was just there focused on showing the stuff they've been working on, and
vibes were positive though overall.
Yes.
That's good.
Well, speaking of positive vibes, I got asked, because I'm a long time fan. How was it to be back officially on Giant Bomb?
It was cool.
Get on their couch.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've gotten out of the house and done anything like this, so it was kind of a nice, like, return to form, I guess, or something a little cozy about it, I guess.
How big was the audience? I actually don't know.
I don't know. In that theater?
Yeah. Have you ever presented to an audience? I don't know. Probably some of the panels you've done in the past.
It was pretty sizable. Yeah. So some of those, the PAX ballroom in particular, I think at least at one point it was like a 1,200 person ballroom, so that was probably the biggest one for me. But do
you like going in front of live audiences like that? No. Okay. I didn't think so.
Not at all. But it was fun. I appreciate them.
Well, it sounds like it was fun to be able to get out of your house and interact with people.
Definitely.
Now that you work mostly from home, and then every once in a while I'll convince you to come in here and just berate you all the time.
Yeah, no, it's human social contact. There's value in it. It's nice to talk to people about the stuff you do.
You're like, hey, you're a real person. Wow, I forgot what you look like in 3D. Nice. Any VR talk? Any sort of that kind of stuff?
No, now that you mention it, I'm trying to think if there was even a game with like optional VR support there, and I can't think of anything.
Well, there were the rumors about the PSVR coming to PC so they could dump off the unsold inventory,
which they did announce.
That's happening.
Yeah, they did announce that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they've announced the adapter is coming out in August for $60.
So that means the total price for that headset will be like $500.
So they are putting it on pretty deep sale. I think it's $550 for just the headset currently, or MSRP, but they've discounted them pretty heavily. I think in conjunction with that adapter announcement. I don't know if that sale is still going or not, but I think they were down like $100 or $150.
That's pretty good.
But the adapter doesn't do some things. No HDR, no foveated rendering or eye tracking pass through.
No eye tracking, no HDR, no haptics in the headsets. One or two other things, I believe. I can't remember, but my understanding was there would not be a lot of games that could take advantage of that stuff anyway on PC.
Well, yeah, the APIs for foveated rendering are all Oculus, so like Steam VR, I don't even think supports that.
Yeah, right.
It's $530 for the whole set on Amazon right now.
Really? That's
including controllers. Wow.
It seems like it's up, including the controllers. $536.
Are you surprised that's a price is way too high or too low, Brad?
Well, it's definitely cheaper than launch. I think it was $600 for that bundle at launch.
So it's come down a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, does anybody give a damn about VR at this point? I mean, it's just like
terribly, least of all Sony. There are not a lot of exclusive games coming to that headset, right? They showed a couple, to be fair. They showed a couple of VR games during that state of play that looked pretty cool. I don't know if those will now come to PC as well. I guess they will.
Well, I mean, there's an interesting hole though, because like there's no PC headsets because the Windows mixed reality stuff is going away. Microsoft's just pulling it out of Windows.
I know. Like, I don't even. What do I do with that thing? Should I just e-waste it? Just like, it literally
put it on a chair in front of your apartment and see if it goes away.
Get it bronzed. Make it like a statue. Yeah,
mount it on the wall.
Yeah, it's a piece of history.
Yeah, like it's, but it's not price competitive with the Oculus stuff, right? Like it's like a Quest 3 is still cheaper, right?
Yeah, I think it's $400.
I thought it was $500 is the Quest 3.
So it's I'm excited as somebody who already has a PSVR 2 to be able to use it on a PC. Oh, okay. Well, that's competitive.
That's with a bundle though. Sorry, but that's what Amazon sells. So
it's I think right now it's pretty tough to recommend the PSVR 2 as your primary PC headset if that's mainly what you want a headset for.
At least until we see how it actually works.
Right, right. It is a nice piece of hardware though.
Nice. And anything else you want to touch on for what you saw down there, games wise or trends wise?
Covers pretty much everything. I mean, Astrobot was great. I feel like that's a big question. Is that coming to PC or not?
Yeah, I guess I wonder I wonder if maybe they just think because it's so Sony fanboy centric that one is like, we don't want to anger them too much.
I can't imagine a PC version of that playing that with an Xbox controller and having Well, also you'd almost certainly have to play with a DualSense because those games are usually super DualSense oriented.
Yeah, that's exactly it though. I mean, like God of War is one thing or Horizon, but like the Astrobot games are basically kind of PlayStation nostalgia, the game,
Yeah.
Nostalgia in game form. So like, I mean, they're great platformers in their own right. There's no reason you couldn't play and have fun with those games on the PC, but like, I feel like that's kind of the ultimate test of Sony's commitment to the PC, right? Like, do they bring over this thing that is nothing but distilled love for the PlayStation brand and full of PlayStation hardware and put that on a PC? I don't know.
Well, okay, definitely not day and date, but do you think it'll ever come or do you think it'll just come like a year or two down the road?
I could see it, honestly. Especially if it does really well and if it takes off just as a platformer the way a lot of people think it will. Regardless of the kind of brand affiliation, I could see it down the road. Sure.
Nice.
I got a question.
Sure.
So with the success of Fallout on Amazon Prime, were there a lot of Hollywood types kind of like crawling around looking for IP that like, okay, they've done really well with Fallout. I need to do the same thing now. Let's find a game I can convert to a good TV series.
Prestige TV.
Sure. Yeah. Not that I saw, but I absolutely am sure that's happening all over the place. Like, I feel like we're not quite in a post comic book movie world yet, but I feel like a lot of people in that world are kind of looking for what's the next big thing that we can adapt after comic books.
Horizon, right? That's what Sony wants.
Right. Sure.
The rich Horizon cinematic universe.
Yeah.
I think between Last of Us and Fallout, and and Arcane, I think is another one even that's animated. That's League of Legends, but like serious video game adaptations are happening in a way that are getting attention from people who matter, and There's some prestige around those now.
Kate Blanchett's in the Borderlands TV
Borderlands,
show or
right.
movie or whatever. That looked
It's a movie.
like a thing.
The Borderlands movie is going to be the one to blow the roof off.
Yep, it's gonna be the Mortal Kombat of this era of video game movies.
Yeah, I mean, to Gordon's question though, it's like everything feels like it has been optioned at some point. Like Mass Effect, BioShock, everything.
Oh yeah, the Witcher has a successful series.
Like it feels like every big franchise you saw a news story 10 years ago. So like, so and so production company has optioned Mass Effect or whatever, and then nothing ever comes of it. But maybe more stuff will start coming of those now that people are making actual good stuff out of them.
It's time for Undertale.
Yeah, maybe
the TV show.
Maybe.
Well, I do wonder. I was going to say, Gordon, I do wonder if maybe because they were already in LA, that the LA people didn't have to come to their thing. They went to the LA people because they were already there.
You don't go to them if you hold the IP, you make them come to you. It's a power move.
Maybe they want the money.
I can just imagine these kind of Hollywood agents kind of like looking for stuff. None of them play games. None of them know anything about gaming. And they're just kind of, but they're still looking for something to like latch onto, an option, and to turn into their success. It just feels like this really horrible stereotype that would be funny to make fun of in a way.
Like agents, you're probably right, but I think we are crossing the boundary now though, where like all the people in charge actually did grow up with games. Like that was the word about one of the showrunners on Fallout, supposedly like played and completed and loved every Fallout game like as it was released since '97, which is how you get a show that is that reverent about the property. So like hopefully we're getting to this point where like the people calling the creative shots actually do know and love the properties.
For what it's worth, the people I talked to when I was doing VR stuff and working with the Hollywood agent types were pretty like well informed about games. I was like, most of them came into VR because they were into games, not because they were chasing. Like I was surprised.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's disappointing, Will. I really wanted some Simpsons-esque character to like in a suit, kind of walking around trying to like throw money at things to, not knowing anything about it. That's really what I'm hoping for.
Well, look, Gordon, this is your opportunity. You need to write the treatment for the script that's about the Lionel Hutz type going around and trying to option Super Mario Brothers. Or look, where's your Kirby movie? I want a Kirby movie. I don't even like Kirby. I want a Kirby movie.
Kirby.
Well, I didn't even realize because I was looking for games to try on Snapdragon X, and I looked for the top games on Steam. Mm-hmm. Like number 2 was like some ridiculous banana game. Like what? Oh
no, are we gonna start the banana discourse here?
Banana game?
No, I'm just saying that would be a perfect game for Lionel Hutz to, try to buy and then try to sell it as a movie.
So the banana game just to be clear, the banana game feels like it's probably some sort of money laundering
scheme. It's a free-to-play thing, yeah.
It's a clicker.
Oh, okay.
And when you click it, every once in a while you win a prize, and some of the prizes are selling on the Steam Workshop for like thousands of dollars.
And it's tagged as psychological horror. So now I'm interested.
Bananas.
A clicker that's psychological horror.
What is it? The God proves the existence of a banana? I don't know.
So
it's a thing.
The banana thing seems like a wave.
Yeah,
I'd ignore that one.
Yeah, I would not focus.
Actually, I'm surprised Team Fortress 2 is at 11 right now. Wow.
That's because people are there's a lot of scene drama around Team Fortress 2 right
really?
now.
Yeah, for sure.
I had no idea.
I don't know what kicked that off. I know people have been mad about lack of updates and stuff, but I don't know what the inciting event was.
There's a lot of cheats and hacks and things that are doing bad things to your PC when you get on the wrong Steam server.
Oh no.
Wrong Team Fortress server.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're running a little long, so let's get to a couple questions. Brad, do you need to pop out or?
No, I think I'm good.
All right, if you want to switch over to Q&A, I got a couple random ones that I'm just going to pull from the thing here. A friend of the show, Master Procrastinator, asks, if AI is the future and a new way to print money, why don't the new Ryzen 9000 desktop CPUs have an NPU? Gordon?
Well, because you're going to have it in your GPU. I think the whole NPU thing is kind of silly. It's something that Microsoft is pushing for, always on low power, AI performance, and I don't think that really is going to matter on a desktop that much, because you're just going to have a fairly powerful GPU available, and frankly, the actual truth is desktops outside of PC gaming are kind of dead. I'm not saying they're dead, but I'm just saying it's very much a niche product at this point. Desktop gaming, blinged out with RGB, built specifically for gaming, built for content creation, and you just don't need this low power NPU to basically suck up all this, to screenshot the hell out of everything you're doing all the time. So I don't think it's necessarily needed at this point.
So just to be clear, Gordon, desktops are dead.
Gordon says desktop's dead.
Gordon wants to buy a MacBook 15. He says the laptop to buy is a MacBook 15-inch Air.
Yeah.
Well,
all the truths are coming out today.
I have to actually offer the legitimate. Again, I would never, for myself, I would never do it. I have to be honest with somebody who's asking. And, and again, I love desktops. I'm on a desktop, never going to give up a desktop. But people do have to realize it is a fairly small segment of all computing.
Niche product.
So, but it's a powerful and it's a loud and proud, and we're there. And frankly, for AI, it's and the people that are really pushing things on AI, you don't know the killer application. There's a hell of a good chance it's not going to come from somebody with a laptop. It's going to come from somebody with a big ass desktop, right? Yeah. With a consumer grade graphics card, developing something that, holy smokes, this is really going to change the world. That could be there. But I'm just saying people have to realize that desktops are fairly small, right?
I just don't. The thing that bums me out about not having the NPUs top to bottom across the product line is that there is, for stuff that's like light models, like voice recognition and transcription and stuff like that, there's like latency benefits to having the dedicated hardware for it. And if the GPU, like if Microsoft provides APIs that will tap my 4090 for that, that's awesome. I'm all for that. But right now, like there's stuff's being written for the NPUs, it seems like, and if you don't have an NPU, it just goes to the cloud, and then there's a 400 millisecond turnaround time, which kind of blows.
Yeah, but wasn't that part of NVIDIA's announcement? They're just have these wrappers and all kinds of stuff for, again, I mean, NPUs are cool if you're in a low power, always on kind of environment. I just think, but it's also pretty cute that you have an NPU when you have a graphics card that is, 30 times more powerful than it too. So I just don't think, I just don't think AMD and NVIDIA or AMD and Intel sort of are targeting it as a place right now. That'll probably change within a few years if this AI thing actually sticks around. But right now, why the hell would you want to run on your weak ass NPU when you can run on your 4090 at 1300 tops instead of 45 tops? Well, that's kind of cute,
Well, and not all tops are equal.
Yeah. Well, and I would like to point out, I'm sure somebody at AMD is yelling at their screen, Gordon, don't forget there's a Ryzen 8000 series available for desktop right now that does have an NPU. So, because it's essentially the mobile chip on a desktop.
Yeah, I guess, but those 8000s are unlikely to be paired with a 4090 as well. So
that would be hilarious. Here's a good question for the tech podders. I feel like you guys might have something. Friend of the show, Sneaky, asks, since Samsung and LG are selling their IPS branch, does that mean OLED is going to be mainstream very fast?
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
They do not link sources, but sounds like they're getting out of IPS.
Yeah, wow. I think OLED is pretty mainstream at this point, isn't it? I think.
Well, at the high end. For high-end monitors, it's definitely the like you're not paying the same high-end premium that you were years ago, right?
Sorry, are we talking just PC monitors? Sorry, not TVs.
I don't know if they're talking about PC or TVs.
I was assuming we were talking about PC monitors.
Yeah, in that case, I guess OLED is definitely less penetration there on the PC monitor side.
Oh no, this is going to be hard to find.
Well, but I mean, I guess the point is Samsung and LG are high-end TV brands, right? Yeah. If you're buying, they're high-end monitor brands as well as general rule. I mean, there are definitely some low-end entry-level monitors, the $100 range from both of those companies. But for the most part, when I think of Samsung, I'm thinking of like that big, giant, wide OLED, the G9 or whatever it is. It's $1,200. I'm thinking about the big 40-inch, the bendy OLED LG panels.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, like my assumption is we're not going to see IPSs on high-end products unless you're specifically looking for like high refresh rate optimization.
Some people still prefer IPS.
What the hell ever happened to micro LED? Like, has it ever shipped in any known quantity?
It's still coming, but it's very, it's kind of like OLED took forever to get mainstream. I think it is also taking forever.
Yeah, they're still in the $10,000 TV price range, or $5,000 TVs now. You
can buy them. I mean, micro LED, I think, is basically just kind of OLED without the OLED drawbacks, is my understanding.
Yeah,
but I kind of wonder if it's ever going to catch up, because it feels like OLED has gotten so cheap that micro is just going to be like, oh, we're here now. It's like, oh, well, OLED is mainstream and so much cheaper. You've got zero chances of penetration.
People now. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Brad.
People now are talking about like pure quantum dot displays as well, which I don't know if that's just going to supersede what we've got now, where the TVs have this quantum dot layer on them. Like Digital Trends did a bunch of reporting on this. I think it was out of the last CES. They basically went in a back room. I can't remember who is making this thing. They had a prototype, but it was like the quantum dots themselves basically are the emissive bits of the screen now. Like they've kind of removed the OLED part of it entirely. So I don't know if that's ultimately going to become more of a thing than micro LED or not. Who knows?
I mean, the thing that always happens, the reason OLED got cheap is because we increased manufacturing capacity for it, right? At large, and defects rates went down over large scale, mainly because OLED adoption in phones went from selling millions to hundreds of millions to billions of units a year. And the same thing will happen with micro LED stuff. Like right now, if you want a 114-inch class micro LED TV from Samsung, bargain basement price $150,000. It's got the infinity screen, so it just disappears when you turn it off.
Oh,
well, just like your money did when you paid them $150,000 for a freaking TV.
Boom.
Yeah,
got him.
There's my hot tape.
Yeah.
Hey, look, the good news is if you want to do the installment plan, you can. It's only $37,500 every 2 weeks.
Oh,
to knock that one out. So
easy.
I'll add super quick. I just noticed, or somebody actually just pointed this out in the chat. That kind of direct quantum dot screen tech I was talking about. It looks like everybody's calling that nano LED now.
Oh, of course.
So if you wanted a catchy brand name to slap on that tech, sounds like nano LED is the next thing after micro LED.
Huh.
The benefit of the micro LED stuff is that it's bright enough that you can do it in direct sunlight, like Jumbotron style, right? So you can have it like outdoors. You can have your outdoor TV in the sun and still be able to see it. I don't need that probably. But if somebody wants to send me $150,000, I will buy it and test it.
There we go.
Yeah.
Last question, then we'll get out of here. Friend of the show, VC Jester asked, if you had a Star Trek holodeck, where and when would you spend most of your time? Gordon.
Oh, jeez.
Gordon, go first.
I'd probably set it to be in the 23rd or 24th century in Star Trek. Couldn't you be wouldn't you be blown away?
So
where are you going in the holodeck? Oh, this looks like you're on the Enterprise. Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. Yeah, but you're on the Enterprise. No, yeah, I know, but I'm in the holodeck on the Enterprise.
You're the captain.
Starfleet.
There, yeah. Straight broccoli.
It's the same exact thing. It's just in that version, you're the captain.
Or maybe not.
You're just role playing in that one.
Yeah, maybe you're the bartender. I think the bartender is the best job on the Enterprise, honestly, because Guida's just down there hanging out. She's just cool with all the weird aliens. She's just like, hey, what's up? I know you.
You've heard my argument that the Federation is basically a union ship. Will's heard this.
I've definitely heard this before.
Brad's face is just like, oh no,
Brad. So you're a Star Trek fan?
Yeah, sure.
So I would argue one of the problems, and I'm not saying I'm a libertarian or anything. One of the problems with
he is absolutely saying that, just to be clear,
is it's completely driven by union jobs, and it's a real problem because you have a Galaxy class starship. There's 3,000 people on it.
A lot of them are
Chief
kids.
O'Brien, think about this. Chief O'Brien is in the transporter room all the time. You can't use a transporter when you're at warp. The Enterprise is 90% of the time at warp, going between star bases. Why is he in that transporter room? Right?
Maintenance. He's doing
Can't
maintenance.
he do something else? No, but he's just reading the paper in the transporter room.
What if they detect the Kobayashi Maru off in the neutral zone? And they have to go transport some refugees.
No, but all you got to do is you know what, Chief? Why don't you go? We got this problem, Jeffries Tube 18. Go fix that.
No, dude.
No. My job is the transporter room. I can't go do that, right? I'm not. Well, no, it's not a problem. I know I can just move my hands. I can run the No, you can't, because that's my job, right?
look, here's the thing.
And when you think about this, Klingon ships, you run across a Klingon battle cruiser, there's like 18 people on there. Galaxy class ship, 3,000.
That is true.
This is not wrong.
Definitely nothing to do with their budget for extras on that episode.
Yeah.
It just feels like, that's an inefficient use of personnel in the Federation. Like, I know you've eliminated money, all that kind of stuff, but now you've got we got to find jobs for people.
Look,
you're going to be, well, what are you going to, oh, great. I'm assigned to the flagship of the Federation. What am I doing? I'm going to be a bartender, but I have 6 degrees. I'm an astrobiologist. I discovered 4 different species. Yeah, you're going to be a bartender, right?
Look, here's the thing. You're thinking about this the wrong way. What if the reason O'Brien is down there in the transporter room is maybe he has some sort of personality characteristics that make him not good to be around, and they're just like, look, don't worry about the Jeffries tubes. I don't want to be packed in the Jeffries tubes with you because you got the bad gas, Chief O'Brien. You got to stay down here in the fart zone.
Man.
And
no.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I think it's because I know this because this is an actual story. It used to be like if you were a union reporter working for the local paper, and then they had people at their bureaus that were not part of the guild. And they would go to San Francisco for the Chronicle. They'd go in there and oh, you can't work here. Like, what? Yeah, because you can't because you're not in the guild. So I'm saying Federation Starship, kind of very similar to that. You really can't. Chief O'Brien, he gets to push those switches on the transporter. Nobody else can.
I don't know. I think
these people.
I think it's much more likely he's a just asking questions guy. He's got some interesting theories about stuff about the Ferengi.
And that's why the Klingons are so angry all the time. It's like, I got to get down here. There's a fire on deck 5. But, I got to fix this. Oh, and I got to go run the transporter too. It's like, oh, come on. Can't we hire some? So, arguably you could say it's better than the Federation because Chief O'Brien's got a family. He's got kids, all that. He's got a nice pad on the Enterprise. Klingons are constantly running back and forth. Can't we hire somebody else on the ship? Can't we hire somebody to sweep up and install some carpeting and some lights? Why does this always look so damn dingy? Every single Klingon ship is dingy and dirty. Right? There is a net positive to having people you will have actually Federation janitors, right?
Yeah, the light bulb changing guy, that's a union job.
Yeah. But it's a good thing because Klingon battlecruiser, no, dirty, dingy, there's no carpeting. It just looks like
sleep on a slab of metal every night.
Yeah, they sleep on a slab of metal. They got nothing but blood wine. I would be angry.
Look,
I would be angry all the time too. That's why can't we cook this gagh? It's the same thing.
They got to have a gagh farm in there somewhere. There's got to be a gagh farmer at the bottom of the ship, right?
In the Federation, they have it's like working at Google. They got the full on you go in there damn, look at this. We got everything here. We got the full on buffet. You got all the food. They're always giving you everything. No, you got that. You got that in the Fed, but you don't have that in the Klingon ships. It's not all bad. I'm just pointing out clearly that there were definitely some differences that it felt you had Federation accredited bartender, you had janitors, all kinds of stuff. And then you had people that weren't even in the Federation, or at least they were actually not in Starfleet. They basically were hanging around on the ship because they were married to somebody on the ship and they lived there. So it's not a bad deal. It's not a bad deal.
What about the dolphins, Gordon?
Dolphins?
Yeah, they had the Enterprise D has dolphin navigators. There's a water section. Dolphins are 3D brains.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
It's canon. Dolphins.
This
Star
in
Trek
a book or something?
No,
it was definitely an early concept. I don't know if that actually made it into the show.
Voyager, because they had that whole weird brain kind of thing for the ship's circuits. I don't think you got that right.
No, they talk about the dolphins. The dolphins show up again in Lower Decks, actually.
Oh, man, that's a Lower Decks thing I could see. There were no dolphins being forced to drive the Enterprise.
They don't talk about the dolphins, Gordon, for reasons. Okay, man. Do you think the dolphins get shore leave? No. Shore leave would kill the dolphins.
Okay, look, I've gone to no less an authority than Memory Alpha.
Yes, Bob-O-Medic gel. Somebody's pointing out. Yeah, I think you're thinking of the Bob-O-Medic gel in Voyager.
There were dolphins aboard the USS Enterprise D. Geordie LaForge showed some of them on 2368 episode of The Perfect Mate. Apparently, you can see the dolphins in an episode of the show.
Yeah, you see them in engineering.
What season? Was it season 1 or 2? If it was in the first 1 or 2
you can say it doesn't count.
It doesn't count. It doesn't even exist.
No, this was season 5.
Oh,
Yeah, this is late.
that's deep in.
Yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah,
They actually-
deep cuts over here.
Wait,
they
but they were
forced the
navigating?
dolphins.
This
Yeah,
does
they
not
had-
say anything about their navigational capacity.
Look, they don't talk about the dolphins for good reasons. I don't think those dolphins could the dolphins could they give consent to being, put onto the spaceship away from their natural habitat, the ocean?
Maybe the dolphins had thumbs.
Yeah.
I'm
they
going to
bred
have to
them to
look
have
this up
thumbs.
to see if it's true or somebody just. It is Wikipedia.
Well,
Somebody could have just edited to that. In fact, I was looking at a Wikipedia entry the other day, and it was the consultant who basically was saying, as far as I can tell, the consultant who was saying this nuclear accident site was not a problem. In fact, people were blowing it out of proportion. I think that consultant has been editing the Wikipedia entry for the last 12 years. So Are you sure we're not talking about the whales, right?
No, I'm aware of the whales and their
the whales are
relationship
different
to the
Totally
probe and all that stuff. Yeah, no, it's not about whales.
Okay.
This is we're
I
speaking
don't
of
believe
whales.
All right.
Just follow the money, Gordon. That's what I'm saying
Yeah.
with the dolphins. I want you,
Datus asked, who needs rails? We got it. We do have to get out of here, Court. We need to wrap this
we
up.
better go. We
we're
better
done.
go. Getting out of here.
Yeah, check back next week for our next podcast, the Full Dolphin. Where we chronicle.
Check back next week for your fix of PC talk on the Full Nerd. For audio listeners, subscribe to us on iTunes, Pocket Cast, or Spotify. And if you're on one of those services, please leave a review. Every time you do, those terrible 24th century socialists force dolphins to drive their starships around the galaxy when they could have a perfectly useful helmsman or helmsperson driving that ship, but instead they are forcing the dolphins to drive the ship around.
look, why do you think the kid could do it? It's because he had dolphin assistance.
Oh my God! Yeah,
Self-driving spaceships. No, it's all it's not robots, it's dolphins, man. Dolphins.
When is the last time you had 13-year-old, you can drive this bus with 180 people on it. Just go right ahead.
Oh, yeah.
You have no experience. Go ahead and drive the ship.
Yeah, here's a spaceship that causes GDP of a planet. Here we go. Go nuts.
Yeah.
Quantum
That makes
torpedoes away. Boom.
Enterprise didn't have quantum torpedoes.
I know.
I had to
You
say
got
that because if we
schooled.
don't say that, people are going to yell at us. They're like, whoa.
They're going to be so.
You know
they're-
what else?
They're all shook
Sherman
because of the
M4
dolphins.
tank actually was a better tank. Okay. All right.
Don't post your classified Federation stuff on our message boards, okay?
Yeah, send questions and comments to thefullnerd@PCWorld.com, and please send us the unclassified documents from World War II there as well. Thanks for coming. I'm Gordon Ung with Adam Patrick Murray,
Please don't. Yeah.
Will Smith.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's great to be here as always.
Expert, dolphin
I don't
expert.
believe the dolphin thing.
In
Brad
yesterday's
Shoemaker, who
Enterprise,
doesn't believe it either. Brad does not believe it either.
Thank you for having me.
And Alex Estevez will mercifully hit the off button on this show.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks for
hit the
tuning
intro and
in,
then fade to
everybody.
black, and then meet us.
Right.
in yesterday's Enterprise, we hear reference to cetacean ops in background chatter.
Oh, Lord. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.